getting good levels on my end.
Sounds good. Hey, live stream. Can everyone hear us okay? Yes?
I can hear us okay. Need to turn that off.
That works. Oh, you know what I didn't do is I didn't tweet. Go me.
I think you might have the stream sound in the background, Garrett.
Really?
Yeah, I'm still hearing the sound.
Because I don't. It must be on your end. Because I don't even have it open.
Oh, right. All right. Okay. Yes, it is me.
Okay. Make sure I'm
I
not...
still had the complexity site open.
Gotcha. All right. Sounds good. Well, we'll get this thing started. StarCast episode 131 for Thursday, December 6th, going live in 3, 2, 1. StarCast is proudly sponsored by DoghouseSystems.com. If you use the code StarCast or Biscuit at checkout, you will get double memory on your next Doghouse system. And also TweakedAudio.com. Go to TweakedAudio.com for high-performance noise-reducing earbuds. Use our code StarCast and get 30% off plus free shipping on your entire order. And finally, SC2QuoteOfTheDay.com. Daily quotes from the StarCraft 2 community. The site may suck, but the quotes are sick. And make sure to go check out their t-shirts in their new store. Once again, that's SC2QuoteOfTheDay.com, and we thank them for their support. Sponsor an episode of StarCast at thestarcast.com.
Hell, it's about damn time for StarCast.
Incoming transmission.
Biscuit.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 131 of StarCast, the StarCraft podcast. I'm Garrett Weinzierl, and with me, as always, is Kyle Ferguson. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm doing well. Christmas is fast approaching, sooner than I thought it'd be. It's always too early in the year anyway, because here in Chicago, you only get about used to the cold, and then you have to sit through the whole damn winter. But at least Blizzard's acknowledging the Christmas season, giving us a nice big patch for us all to enjoy on our break. And we have a sort of, well, I guess it's not a Christmas guest, but a gift for all you listeners out there.
Indeed. Jason Lake, welcome to the show, man. How are you doing?
I'm kidding. I'm doing great. Thanks very much for having me.
Thanks for coming. We're sorry we didn't inform you that a Santa hat was required.
Yeah, I probably could have come up with one. I've got the red tie though, so we're good.
All right, that's good. Your business Santa tonight.
Yeah, that's it.
Good stuff. So what's new, man? How's the week been treating you? You're obviously we're busy at IPL over the weekend.
Yeah, it's been one of those weeks in esports that give you black bags under your eyes and gray hairs on your head. It all started last Thursday when I was trying to get to Vegas, and the Burbank Airport runway lights were broken. I'd never heard of such a thing. So I had to come back home and then go back Friday morning and fly to Vegas, and then events are pretty exhausting, just the way, esports events are. And I got home, and I was kind of hoping to rest a little bit and then find out that our player Hart and Fnatic player Alive had lost their passports in Vegas. We think they were stolen, actually. They were the passports were in the same room, and we think the maid or somebody came in and stole them. Apparently, there's a big black market for Korean passports. So warning out there to all StarCraft players, put your passports in a safe or hide them well, because if the maid can get them, apparently they will. So we spent the last few days dealing with that, and getting a new passport is not a simple procedure. And then at 5 a.m. this morning, I woke up and drove them to the airport, so they are safely probably in Japan almost, or they're probably still on the plane. So it's been one of those 7-day periods, but everything is going well.
That's good to hear. That is awful. I would never have thought of specifically what places do I think there'd be a big market for passports for. Korea would not pop into my head. That would. I mean, I don't really know what would pop into my head, but
exactly.
That's odd. So that sucks to hear, but hey, sounds like you got through it.
Yeah, we did. I posted a bunch of stuff on my Twitter just to make the day go by, and we actually stopped we went down in the morning, and they weren't going to give them the new passports until today because they didn't have an itinerary for like the next 24 hours. So I called up one of our managers, Scott Ford, and said, "Dude, I need a plane itinerary from LAX to Korea, and I need it like now for tonight." So he gave us this itinerary. It said 10:30 p.m. tonight. So they went back, and the guy's like, "Oh, okay, 10:30 tonight. Come back in 3.5 hours." So we're like in Koreatown in LA, and we're like 3.5 hours. So we jammed over to the Machinima offices. A lot of people know the Machinima, network of different websites, and they entertained us for a while and did an interview with Hart. So it passed the time, and it was great to see that gang over there.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I'm a big
Yeah.
fan of a lot of them at different machinima sites.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So, are things slowing down for the winter then? I mean, is this break time for you or?
Not quite yet. There's NASL this weekend, so I'll be going down probably just for Saturday. I have a room booked. I'm going to bring my kids down and let them watch some StarCraft. They haven't been to an event since Anaheim, so we're going to go down there and check out what Russell and the crew at NASL have cooking up, and we're excited about that. And then probably a little bit of a downtime. In esports, honestly, even when the events aren't live, the management and the staff is still busy. There's a lot of sponsor talks that have to happen towards the end of the year for the next year. You're looking at what players you may be moving in or out for the next year. It's typically a big contract expiration time.
Right.
So it's just, there's no rest for the wicked is what they say. And it's nice if you can catch a couple weeks when it's a little slow, but the reality is I've worked on Christmas afternoon before, and esports never sleeps.
Wow.
yeah, that's for sure. So, are you a Southern California like native? Is that where you live?
No, I grew up in the Midwest in Iowa. I went to Iowa State, and then I moved to Atlanta to get a law degree at Emory. After that, I started a real estate practice that I built into 5 metro locations. And around the same time, I was starting up Complexity during the early days of Counter-Strike. And when real estate kind of bottomed out, I'd had enough of that, sold my law firm to a guy who I'd brought on as a partner and moved out here for CGS, which was, the big News Corp gaming league that didn't listen enough to the people that know gaming and listened a lot to the TV people. That combined with the economic collapse around 2008 made them pull the plug on the project. So I got the Complexity intellectual property rights back and went into business with my good friend Jason Bass, and here we are today.
So you have a little more personal take on the age old, well, not that old of a question is how hard should we be pushing for esports on TV?
Yeah, I do. DJ Wheat is actually a good friend of mine, and he's got kind of the same take. Like, I'm not against virtually any kind of exposure for esports, but I am becoming convinced that it's almost a step backwards in some ways to go to television. I think what Twitch TV and similar sites have done is just, kind of foreshadowing the future. I think everything's going to go over the internet before long. And if they want to put us on TV, if there's rumors of MLG and ESPN, and there's all these different rumors of this company or that league with this station or whatever, great. It works for them in Korea. I wouldn't say necessarily it's a bad thing in and of itself, but I don't think it's the future.
Yeah, so you don't think we're going to be the next Desperate Housewives,
God.
size of because when I think TV, I think prestige.
Yeah, I mean that's really my generation and above, and I guess even your generation. It's just the way we all grew up. If you make it to TV, then hey, you've made it. It's like throw the party. But I'm not convinced that's the way for the future. If a solid TV network wants to cover the IPL or the NASL, great. It's just more eyeballs. Traditional companies definitely take a liking to it, but moving forward in the future, I think 10 years from now, if we had this conversation, it would just kind of be as a joke and as a laugh. Like, why the hell would we want to be on TV? Everybody watches, internet streaming TV stuff now.
Yeah. I just got a Roku in my bedroom. It's been like the best change I've made in my life. I love it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Apple TV and Netflix and all that kind of stuff. It's I think the way everything's going.
But back when you were getting going with Complexity for the first time with Counter-Strike, what did esports look like back then? I mean, was there even a thought of being on TV?
I mean, it was the dream back then, absolutely. Shoutcasting, which is basically just radio casting over games, was the big thing back then. You had to own the game. You had to log in, go to like an IP address. It was like hltv dot blah 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 dot gotfrag dot or whatever, and then turn on the shoutcast and listen to the audio. There was some early attempts at internet streaming, but the infrastructure and everything back then was so different. Like if you had 2 megabytes down at home, like you were pretty hip. You were ahead of the curve. The
Oh yeah,
infrastructure,
I remember those days.
yeah. So they would stream out over HLTV, and then the big thing became bandwidth was so unbelievably expensive. They had to get like large corporate distributors, like Layered Tech, I think was with CPL. I think it was what it was called. So they would come in because they'd have 30,000 people watching a game of Counter-Strike, but they're all watching through the HLTV client, and the bandwidth consumption was astronomical. So I mean, it's amazing to me how much the world has changed in 10 years, because really on a timeline, 10 years is like the blink of an eye. And, we didn't have smartphones back then. We did have cell phones back then, but they were much bigger, and most of us weren't even using text messaging because it was too big a pain in the ass to type on a numerical keyboard.
And it was expensive at first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was expensive. And you even had like roaming and things. Like I had a Bell South phone, so if I'd go to Dallas or LA, I had to worry about like roaming fees and all this crazy stuff that this generation will be like, what?
Yep.
So definitely a different technology. The thing that's fantastic though is that it was the same passion and love for esports that drove everybody back then. Many faces have come and gone during that time. New faces come in and refresh the scene. New games arrive and breathe new life into esports. But the underlying thing is still the same. People love to play games, and they love to watch the pros play games.
Yeah. So we took some questions, as we always do whenever we have a guest like you on the show, mostly from Team Liquid, a few from our own forums. So I guess like starting kind of at the beginning, I mean, Complexity's been around for a while now, since 03?
Yeah, it's just next year's our 10th anniversary, and like I've said on several interviews, it's like 10 years in esports is like 100 years. It really is. Things progress so quickly, and the landscape can change out from under you like quicksand. And 10 years in this business is a very long time. And I think the very fact that most people who are kind of leading esports today and are, gaming in esports today for sure, weren't around 10 years ago. So I guess that kind of makes me and a small group of us like Sir Scoots the old timers of esports, which is weird considering I'm not that old yet.
Does that mean like we get to like sit on like Scoots' lap and he tells us a story or tells us to get off his lawn?
He'll bring his cat and flick dirty money at you, and
Nice. Nice. So anyway, I guess going back to the beginning, one of the questions we got from Team Liquid asked, what challenges did Complexity run into at startup, and how did you overcome those challenges?
The biggest challenges when any esports organization starts up is money. We were fortunate because at that time I had a lot of it. So I proceeded to invest, I guess when the dust settled, I invested about $500,000 of my own money funding Complexity in the early years. We had some sponsorship support, but for the most part, I bore the brunt of the large amount of money it takes to truly have a global class esports team. The initial challenge in Counter-Strike was just coming out of nowhere and wanting to be number one right away. I was younger and even more impatient than I am now, and so I wanted to catapult us to the top pretty quickly, and that ruffled a lot of feathers of the then current old school. So, just building up a team-based organization while running a law firm and doing all the traveling required and everything was very daunting. So, when DirecTV came calling a little later with a nice buyout figure, I took a look at the landscape, and along with Craig Levine, who owned Team 3D at the time, we decided to sell our brands to DirecTV. By that point, I'd invested so much money, and they were coming in with $30,000 a year salaries for all 5 players. So even to match it, assuming my players would skip wanting to be on television, which is probably a stretch, even to match that sum, I would have had to come out of pocket 150 grand a year, plus a traditional about $100,000 in travel. So I'm looking at a minimum of a $250,000 a year investment now, and skipping TV. So it was really a no-brainer decision at that time. So we took the DirecTV Championship Gaming Series plunge.
Oh, wow. That's a hell of a beginning.
Yeah, it was extremely fun during those years, but also extremely stressful, and it definitely took some years from my life. Many days of working all day at the law firm and working till like 4 in the morning on esports, and then starting over at 7:30 the next morning. But all in all, I wouldn't change a thing. It's been a fun ride.
I think I feel that I have a hard time talking to my coworkers about my passion. What was it like working at a law firm at the ground level of esports? Like, how did you talk to anyone?
I was a boss, so they couldn't give me too much crap.
Okay.
But they did make fun of me a little bit until the documentary film crews started coming in, and the news crews, and New York Times is on the phone for an interview, and literally things like that happened. Then they started to view it quite differently. And then when they became aware I was in negotiations with News Corp and DirecTV over selling it, they're all like, "Wow, maybe you weren't so nuts the whole time." So it wasn't too bad.
All right. Oh, that's good. So that's what I need, is just insane success.
So in the past, clearly a different story, and with DirecTV, then you bought back the company. How nowadays does Complexity Gaming monetize? For the viewer at home, we have all these free events to watch. Some are paid, but free events to watch, guys wearing T-shirts. We love them. They're awesome. Maybe we'll buy their products, but that doesn't seem like money would feed directly into you.
Yeah, it's not too lucrative, unfortunately. And this is honestly, in my opinion, if not the biggest problem in esports, the biggest. I mean, the second or third biggest problem. Teams have an incredibly difficult time monetizing, as do leagues, frankly, but they're better at it. They have a slightly different pitch. Just this week, we saw Quantic announce they were closing their doors. Slasher tweeted recently that maybe they won't need to, which would be fantastic. But it's very difficult to monetize. I am still, after 10 years, quite a bit upside down, with money put in and money taken out. And if you look at someone who took the time to go, get a business degree and a law degree, you should be probably spending your time and your energy on things that have ROI, return on investment. Well, this idiot has spent the last decade working very, very hard and spending a lot of money and a lot of emotion and a lot of energy and flying countless miles for something that loses him, money in the long run. So that's why I'm constantly going back to, you have to really love gaming if you're going to be here, because otherwise you're going to leave with your tail between your legs, very unhappy. Our primary way of monetizing is obviously sponsorships. Our biggest sponsor being Creative Sound Blaster, in which we have different types of deals arranged with them. So when fans actually purchase their product, we can get some of that revenue. It's a branding type exercise. And their loyal support since the CGS closed is frankly the only reason we're in existence. Obviously, we need all of our sponsors and appreciate them greatly. But our lion's share sponsor is Sound Blaster. So, to them goes many, many props. When it comes to team business, it's incredibly difficult out there. I do, however, feel in the next 3 years we'll be turning some corners. I think the demographic numbers that have been released this year are getting spread around to the right people. The people that decide where they spend large marketing budgets. If you're going to hit up Ford Motors for $1 million, you need to have a lot of eyeballs on your marketing material, or they'll laugh you out of the room. Only recently, in the past 24 months, have we started to see the kinds of numbers and statistics that'll impress Madison Avenue and get companies and marketing companies like Team Detroit that runs Ford's marketing budget to invest real money in the space. What we've been dealing with for 10 years is begging and pleading for $2,000 a month sponsor or a $8,000 or $9,000 a month sponsor, and then you get it killing yourself to keep that sponsor, which you should. But these numbers are fine, and the endemic sponsors like Sound Blaster and SteelSeries and other companies have done a wonderful job of doing what they can to support the community. But until we can get Coca-Cola, until we can get United Airlines, until we can get Nike and some of these real brands into the space, we're not going to go anywhere. You're going to see more of Check Six closing doors, Quantic closing doors, Six Jacks closing doors. I mean, you could go on all day, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Until we stop speaking in six-figure numbers and start speaking in seven-figure numbers, we're all going to struggle. And most every team in the world, quite frankly, often finds themselves hanging by a thread. And there's one guy at a company that if he doesn't make the right decision, they close their doors, and that's scary. And it shouldn't be like that. We're now, broadcasting to millions of unique people in the most valued demographic on Earth, males, 16, 18 to 34. And when you're dealing in millions, you should be dealing in seven figures. But that takes time, and that takes educating marketing managers. Really, really good show on this was Live on 3. They had Simon Whitcomb, previously of CBSI, huge marketing branch and media interactive branch for CBS. And it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. I was at my son's basketball practice watching it on my iPhone, and I couldn't turn it off. That man really knows what it takes to get, the seven-figure deals, and he runs with the big boys. He recently went to Facebook from CBSI. So if you're really interested in the business, I highly recommend Googling Simon Whitcomb and that Live on 3 episode.
Nice. Thanks for the recommendation. The chat room's already lighting up. That was an amazing episode. As a matter of fact, I think we had a question in the chat room from, Key Hunt. It was kind of on topic with what you were saying. He said that, he said, in his opinion, there were really only two stable multi-gaming organizations left in North America. Do you see this as a possible overall scene problem or nothing more than improper management?
I absolutely see it as a scene problem. Of course, whenever something goes out of business or has to close the doors, management bears some of the responsibility. But it's more a money issue. Let's be very clear for people who are new into business. The best comparison we can make of the esports business landscape as far as sports is Major League Baseball, because in Major League Baseball, it's very much George Steinbrenner can go out and buy the players he wants, and the sky is the limit. In the NFL, you have caps where you only have so much money per team, and you have to actually go out and find who's going to be good, and then wrangle in the negotiations and draft, and I'll trade you this draft pick if we can get this guy, and all that sort of thing. Baseball is much more kind of like Wall Street, where if you got the money, you get whatever you want. And
case in point, Yankees.
Exactly. That's why when people call e.g. the Yankees of esports, I think that tag is incredibly fitting. We wore that tag for a while, but it's definitely theirs to wear now. And I don't want to take anything away from Team EG, because I know most everyone that is in management over there, and they're incredibly intelligent, hardworking, passionate people, and very good at what they do. But let's not, blow any smoke per se. Whoever has the most money is going to have the most fans. Whoever has the most money is going to have the most players. Whoever is going to has the most money is going to have the best marketing team. Whoever has the most money is going to have the fanciest artwork and press releases. And that snowballs into great things, because now you're doing a good job, because you've used what you have to get the right people in the right places. You got the Hucks, the Idras, these amazing personalities that have fan bases, and then you get another sponsor, and then another, and it's a snowball effect. What newer teams find difficult is getting enough money in place to get the personalities, to get the management skill on your team to enable that second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth sponsor. I mean, we've never been fantastic at it. We're incredibly grateful for the sponsors we have, but obviously you look at EG's webpage and it looks like a NASCAR in a good way.
Yeah, minus the
They've done
Southern drawl.
a job. But when new people come to the scene, they're like, wow, why is this team so popular? Whatever. One answer: money. Money. It's quite simply, they have done a sensational job of getting sponsor support and raising money for their organization. Alex Garfield, good friend of mine, was on the executives. You can Google that as well. It was a really great episode because I consider him the best person for obtaining sponsors and raising revenue in esports, period. Leagues, networks, anything. I think he is the absolute guru, and my hat is off to him. And they're doing a great job over there. And like I said, I don't mean to take away at all from what they've accomplished, because they worked their tails off. I sat down with Evolai, their player manager at IPL, and the guy was tired, very tired, working very long hours. But let's call a spade a spade. If you want to be the next CG and you have enough money, you could be the next CG. It comes down to money.
Do you feel like when this is all over and the money's there, will there be one game on top that got this money there? Or will everyone kind of bring each other up? We'll all enjoy esports together and we'll have many different genres of games.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be one game anymore. The gaming industry in general has matured to the point where that's just not even possible, I don't think. Even 10 years ago when Counter-Strike was being played online, one of the reasons, beyond the fact the game is the best game ever made, one of the reasons it was so big and so popular, my stupid antivirus keeps telling me to update it, thanks. One of the it was so popular was, frankly, it was just right time, right place. The gaming market in general, especially online internet gaming, was nowhere near as developed as it is now. There's so much white noise out there now. There's so many games, and people just get overwhelmed. They have a Steam sale in the summer, and people are pulling their hair out like, "Oh my God, I just downloaded 25 games."
That was just me on Black Friday.
Exactly. I just don't think there's going to be. Will there be a front runner? Yeah. Like right now, you look at the numbers on League of Legends. Are you kidding me? It's mind-boggling. There'll always probably be a front runner, but will there be one game that takes us to the glory land? I don't think so.
That's funny.
So one of the questions we got, you started the Executives podcast to start and videocast to start an archive of advice to help out esports people build up. What do you think is the best advice you've given on that show?
Yeah, you're right. The reason I started that show, and I think I've mentioned it a couple times on the show, was over the years, for better or for worse, I've just had dozens and dozens of people interested in the business side hitting me up. And you feel bad because you've got like 800 things to do and you're stressed out, you're pulling your hair out, and your Skype is dinging or your email is blowing up or whatever, and you don't want to be that jerk, that just blows off people like, "Oh, no, I don't have time for you," because I'm just not like that. And it just got, even this year, it just got to the point where I was like, I've been meaning to kind of do something like this, so I was like, that's it. I'm going to do it. I don't know how many episodes we're going to run. It won't be a lot. But I just want to get something out there to where now people, when they're asked questions, can be like, "Hey, you should check out this episode of The Executives. Maybe this will point you in the right direction," and leave, I guess, a small legacy for the next leader of business, next generation of business leaders in gaming. So, the show is, not perfect, and to be honest, I'm usually busy and running around and don't want to do it. No, it's like you spend 3 or 4 days trying to get the right guests lined up and get their schedule open, and then things happen and people cancel, and you run around, and then the day before you have to spend a good 3 or 4 hours brainstorming and making an outline. It's a lot more work on these shows than people realize on the surface. So often I'm running around chasing my kids and working, and I'm just like, I really don't have time for this, but I try to make the time, and hopefully it helps some people. I mean, the views are abysmal when compared to most shows, but I knew they would be because it's trying to help a specialized demographic of people, a group of people, and not the overall fan. Like the average gaming fan would watch this and turn it off in 30 seconds. But
I have to say, this by no means is brown nosing. I think I recommend the executives more than any other esports related show. I personally find it so damn interesting, and I have to give that credit to finding the show to our producer of this show, Octane Pro. He sent me the Alex Garfield episode and was like, "This is gold. You need to listen to this."
yeah, it was we've had several really good ones. And the funny thing is the average viewer in esports is so young that I don't think they really can even appreciate the history behind some of our guests. We always try to start out a little segment, who are you, where do you come from, to kind of catch people up quick. But we've had some of the people on that show have literally been the people that have crafted and molded esports from nothing to what it is today. So, I'm very honored to have them join the show, and that episode was very good. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, it's a good one. Make sure you take Jason's advice, listeners, and go check that out. So back into some of the questions we pulled from the fans. One person said, you're not shy. That Counter-Strike is kind of your game. So what do you think of CS:GO? And do you think games like Shoot Mania, Smite, Halo 4, or any other FPS games? Is Smite really an FPS? I would not call Smite an FPS. Anyway, do you really think any other FPS games stand a chance to compete with the MOBA fighting and RTS titles for esports royalty?
Absolutely. This is the age of MOBA. I know people hate that term. I get a hard time, but I call it MOBA. This is the age of MOBA and RTS. But there is a huge audience out there that loves FPS. It's a different kind of rush watching FPS, I guess, because it's different. Like when you're watching StarCraft and some of these games, you can kind of see things coming very often, and the positioning and the armies are moving, or you think like there might be a chance for this, but an FPS has just got that BAM type of run. You're like, I can't even believe it. His headshot of that guy all the way across the map through a wood door. Like, what just happened right now? It's a different kind of viewership experience. Like I said, CPL was running 30,000 viewers. I think in 2004. And they had to own the game, and it was a very laborious process just to watch the game. You had to find the address, and it was a pain in the butt. And you couldn't just click on Twitch and be like, bam, watch it on your phone, or stream it to your TV. All this stuff wasn't around. So I'm confident FPS can put up really, really big numbers. Maybe not League of Legends numbers, but could it be royalty? Absolutely. With CS:GO, I've been saying this for a long time, so people are going to start calling me out on it. But I'm still cautiously optimistic, but I'm not sold. For an esports team to go into a 5-person game is a major financial investment. I mean, we were spending well over $200,000 a year, many years, back in the day on our top, world-class Counter-Strike players. And budgets are tight right now. Our budget's tight. Everybody's budget's tight. So just jumping in because the game is called Counter-Strike is not wise or prudent. Do we want to be in Counter-Strike? Absolutely. But not yet. We're still cautiously optimistic.
All right, so you're managing your own personal bias. Nice. So you mentioned your family a couple times now. What are the biggest challenges that you personally have? Balancing your family with your esports commitments.
It's just a lot of hours and off hours. There's nights when like the family's sitting in watching. Last night is a perfect example. They were sitting in the other room watching Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And it's kind of one of those goofy things every year as a dad. You like to sit down with your kids and watch Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I, on the other hand, was busy trying to get flights booked for, our Korean friends to get back to Korea this morning so I could wake up at 5 a.m. and take them to the airport. And it was really something that couldn't be put off because they needed to get out of here and get home. So I missed Rudolph and Frosty, damn it.
Those are my two favorites as a child.
And any dad in esports, whether it be my partner Jason Bass or Mark Faraz, or there are others, Sundance, they'll tell you there's a lot of things that you miss. Whereas if you had a quote unquote typical type of job, um, you would be home by 6:30 at the latest after a long day of work, but then it's your family time, right? Your kids are out of school, you can sit down and do homework and spend time, watch Frosty, whatever. Over the years I've just missed lots and lots of moments like that, for esports, and it's a conscious decision on my part. I did cut back on my weekly hours invested quite a bit over the past couple of years because I made a conscious effort to devote time to them. Whereas just like in esports, like any kind of startup business or enterprise, there's always something you could be doing. Like any small business, really. There's never when you're like, oh, I'm done for today. There's not a darn thing I could do to make my company better for the next 5 hours. No. You could always be doing something. So as a dad, I made a conscious decision where I'm going to sit down. I'm going to spend time with my kids. And for the past few years, I've made the conscious decision to work from home, and the vast majority of my time goes into complexity. I've done some real estate I can't even talk, consulting in the area, and I've done different projects in the area. But I take my kids to school, and many days I pick them up from school. Some days I might just take them to the park Tuesday at 2 o'clock because there was a period when I had a law firm and complexity where I didn't see them for 3 straight weeks leading up to a holiday right around this time of year. And that was a big wake-up call for me that I needed to get my priorities straight. Now they're both in school, and I've kind of been poking around out there. I want to get back into more of a real office scene and more of a real corporate scene. But yeah, you have to sacrifice to build anything worth having. And I passionately believe in esports, and I can sincerely say that I've sacrificed quite a bit, but I wouldn't do it any differently.
It's a good answer.
Yeah,
I
that's
know
commendable.
exactly who asked that too. He's got kids, so I think he'll be happy with that answer.
We did have a question from the chat come up, getting a little bit back into building the team and all that. Question from Seagrin, or gamer tag. Do you focus more on the skills or the personalities when looking for new players?
Um, there's no right answer. Management's much more of an art form than a science. Um, we have traditionally always looked to skill first. If there's any old Counter Strike fans kind of watch this at some point, our team back in the day was globally ranked number one several times, and quite frankly, they weren't the best looking, most well spoken guys. I mean, they weren't super geeks or nerdy at all. They were awesome to hang out with, and I spent many years, and they were some of my best friends. But we didn't have like the Brad Pitt team, and we knew that. And you know what? We were fine with that. Skill to me is always the first thing that I'd like to look at. But as a team manager, you may look at your team and be like, dude, we got all these superstar players that are awesome, but they can't do an interview or a product review for our sponsors to save their lives. Or like every time they try to go on a live stream, they embarrass us. So maybe at that time, like, hey, this guy's got a great personality. He might not, be flash or something, but we need to infuse a little bit of marketing in and things like that. But for me, I always try to look for the highest amount of skill that we can afford at the time.
Cool. Magnus on this came from Team Liquid asked, he wanted to know how your relationship with Root Gaming since their departure from Complexity. Like, how was your relationship? And he wanted to know if you have any part in Root's success so far as a team.
No, we can't take any credit for that. From time to time, Cats will hit us up with some of the questions about some of the legal minutia or business advice, but not too often. I mean, he's doing a great job, and he's doing it on his own. I saw him at IPL, gave him a big hug, saw Druby, and we wish them nothing but the best. I would have loved it if they stayed, but nobody understands wanting to kind of run your own ship. And once you build a brand like Root or Complexity or something, it's super tough to be anywhere else. And I respect the heck out of them for trying to make their dream a reality. And we'll definitely help them out anytime we can. But I can't take any credit for the success they have right now.
Nice.
Oh, pardon me, Garrett. I'm sorry. Can you take that?
Sure. Magnus also continued on saying that it seems like Root is having a bit of a difficult time getting sponsors behind them. However, they are one of the community's favorite entities. So, what advice would you give for teams like Root and upcoming teams to get sponsors to invest in their teams?
Like I said earlier in the show, it's incredibly difficult. If you look at the global landscape of teams, really look, there's a shocking lack of true sponsors. Like some people will give a team a T-shirt and then they put them up as a sponsor. That's awesome. Thank you for the support. But T-shirts don't buy plane tickets, right? We have a shop. Root has a shop. If you buy our products, don't get me wrong, it helps us. But realistically speaking, it's so expensive to run a pro gaming organization. It helps, but it doesn't. It doesn't get everything, all the bills paid. Like I've told Cass before, I mean, it's just a conscientious focus on business development. You've got to be hitting sponsors 7 days a week, 365, and you can never give up because it's incredibly frustrating. Some people mean well, but they end up jerking you around. It's like, oh, this sounds great. This sounds great. So you get all excited and you think you're about to land this sweet sponsor, and then they kind of jerk you around for a while, and then they'll answer your emails for a couple of months, and then you see them. It's very frustrating, and honestly, I'm not that good at it. I have a very low tolerance for BS, and as soon as I start to smell it, I just walk the other direction. That's why I've never been very good at business development. It's just not my say. Managing and working with gamers and websites and all that, and the brand building is my thing. I'm not very good at approaching these sponsors. So I just tell them, to stay the course, and whatever sponsors they do get, just blow it out of the water. Just maybe it's a small deal, just a little cash here or there, but promote the holy crap out of them. And then you can use that as a case study when explaining to someone else why they should give you money for a sponsorship deal.
When you're talking with these sponsors, are they more for one game or the other? Does it matter to them how many players are on the team? Is that extra exposure as a single StarCraft player even better because that's a personality that people can easily grasp?
If you're going to divide sponsors into two groups, you have the endemic, meaning like computers, sound cards, headsets, mouse pads, that kind of thing. And then the non-endemic, say like a Coca-Cola, United Airlines, Ford Motor Company. The endemics traditionally care very much, and they want to know what players, what games, what are your future guys. We all have sponsors sometimes hit us up, hey, we like this player, this game, and our biggest thing lately is because our sponsors, for the most part, are pretty educated about esports. They're like, why aren't you in League of Legends? We're like, we're working on it. You got to do these things the right way. But yeah, so endemic sponsors tend to be more involved. Now, the good side of that is when you're doing well, they're like, yes, and you can be like, hey, let's talk about expanding our deal. The downside of that is, they pay attention to everything. As you've seen this year, some incidents where controversial things happen, Reddit blows up, and guess what? Those sponsors are much quicker to get upset about it. The other downside is meddling. Sometimes sponsors that are endemic can come into organizations, especially newer organizations that don't quite have a long resume, and start telling them what to do, basically. And that can be very frustrating for new managers. The non-endemic ones are much, much harder to sell, but they don't really know. So once you sell them on you and your team, they most generally give you some more leeway. They're like, hey, you're our gaming expert. We don't really have a clue what is or who that player is. Just market our brand well. So there's positives and negatives to each side of that coin.
Kind of talking on that point, clearly the community caused quite a bit of an uproar when they started emailing sponsors, particularly. What can the community do to help out players and to act well in the face of drama?
First and foremost, unless you've exhausted every possible alternative and it's something very egregious, never email someone's sponsor complaints. let's just say Team ABC is a StarCraft team, and one of their players was saying the N-word on a stream, and people have complained he keeps saying it or whatever.
Right.
Something fairly egregious, professional that really bothers you, and it's not right. Um, if you run to their sponsor, you are shooting not only that deal in the foot, you are shooting all of us in the foot, because like any industry, the marketing industry is often a club, right? They go to the same conventions, they have the same friends, they're all connected on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter. If you poison that well with a few marketing guys that tried esports, got burned with racism or negative email blasts or whatever, you're poisoning a much bigger well than you realize. So I highly suggest people take these types of emails incredibly seriously. And I mean, saying that to people who love to be trolls is probably backfire. But for conscientious people that care about esports, think long and hard before you email any sponsor something negative about our community. What was the second part of the question? I'm sorry, I've been up since 5.
Oh, no, perfectly understandable. So how can we do the reverse to support those sponsors?
Really common sense stuff. Blast them with praising emails. Just say thank you so much. Email them often, and email more than one person in the company in case you get the wrong person. Buy their products whenever possible, and tweet about it in Facebook that you bought their product because they sponsor IPL. You bought their product because they sponsor MLG, Complexity, EG, whatever it is. Let them know, because that stuff does get collected. That stuff does get shown to decision makers. That stuff can write esports dollars. It's really just not rocket science. If you're a fan of anything in esports, support those companies and then tell them you supported them. I mean, buying their products is obviously super great, but if you don't kind of let them know, like, hey, I only bought this Creative Sunblaster headset because you sponsor Complexity, that goes a really, really long ways.
Yeah, it's funny too, because like I'll read the troll comments to like the troll argument to that is like, you really think these companies care when you write them a thank you? You damn right they do. I really doubt that anyone who runs a commercial on like Comedy Central gets an email saying, "Thank you so much for sponsoring Comedy Central. I couldn't see Daniel Tosh without it." They don't get that. I'm sure it is very rare that any company gets a thank you letter because they sponsored something.
Yeah, I mean it goes a very long way. And when I say email more than one person if you can or whatever, that's good too, because sometimes you get the wrong person and they're just like, oh, whatever. But if you start getting the right people, they collect that stuff. See, here's another basic lesson. I hope it's not condescending to the audience, but it's something you don't think about often. That's why I want to bring it up. The people that approve esports buys. We're going to give $100,000 to Quantic Gaming, whatever. They have a job, right? And their job is to market as well, the best they can, and use their limited dollars to get their brand reach and move products. So if you're sending the correct person stuff, they look good, right? They're going to take this stack of emails, be like, look what esports is getting us. Look at all this stuff on Twitter. Look at all these positive emails we're getting from the investment that I made in esports. So they're making themselves look good and solidifying their own job that pays their rent, and they're solidifying their esports buy, and maybe even pushing to get more money for the next year. So these things go way further than it would appear at first on the surface. Anytime you can say positive things to a sponsor, and the more often you can say those positive things, my hat's off to you, and we really appreciate it because we need it.
Great. Well, do it. Damn it, people. Get on that.
Go, Internet.
Speaking of troll questions, Sasquatch asked, why is Sasquatch your favorite player?
Infestors. That's all I have to say. Well, pretty good. I picked up a Terran and a Protoss at the Greyhound bus station because I couldn't put them on an airplane. They didn't have a passport. And my kids made a Nerf Infestors sign to meet him at the station. So we stood in the parking lot and took a picture. It says Nerf. Love that. So, no, Sasquatch is a really good guy, and quite honestly and frankly, I think he's got a bright future in this game. He's only getting better, and he's been playing very well lately. He can't even announce all of it because leagues tend to get upset if you announce pre-recorded matches beforehand. But he's doing well.
Cool. That's good to hear. We had him on a few months back. I think it was a week before he was put on the team proper, right before he moved out of the academy and into the actual complexity team.
He's a great guy. Honestly, we tend to be sticklers about personality on some level. Like most people, we just don't like dickheads, put it bluntly. And we try to ensure that that every guy on our roster at any one time is a good person, like the kind of guy if you bumped into at a bar in Vegas or saw him in a Starbucks, like when you walked away, you would feel like what, he might have been a little shy or something, but he's a good guy. Like he was a really good guy. We just like surrounding ourselves with those kind of people. Sometimes in team games, you might get a guy on the team you're like, I could do without that guy, but for the team. But for the most part, we really do try to have good people around us. It just makes life much more pleasant.
I'm trying not to make a joke about a former player of yours that I think could run into that category, but
Or what? I don't even want to know.
Well, while we're heading down this road, from the chat room, Go Far Man asks, did you wear the tie pre-lawyer, or is that an image thing for your current team?
No, I actually never wear this unless I'm doing something with esports. After 10 years of being a lawyer, I came to quite disdain suits and ties. But I was in CGS, and I always wore a tie to esports events. I was basically the first person in the world, to my knowledge, to ever wear a tie. But I just wanted to look professional. It's what I wore every day, so I was fine with that. Then when CGS, at one point, they took some photos or something, and I had a red tie on. And I just kind of thought, it looked good. And then this little light bulb goes off in my head, speaking of Christmas movies, like The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, where he's like, and all of a sudden, light bulb goes on. I was like, why not always wear it? It's kind of our team color. It's a maroon, reddish black. And, while we're all out there trying to market different things, one of the most valuable things any young person or even old timer like me can do is market yourself. I'll walk into a gaming event, and there's many people in there that probably couldn't recognize my face from anybody else there, but they recognize the white shirt and the red tie. So to be honest with you, it is intentional. The only time I've got so tired of wearing it, I never wear it unless I'm at a gaming event or on a gaming show. But it's my look. It's my shtick, right? If you see the guy, that's the guy from Complexity. I don't remember his name, but I know he's the guy from Complexity. White shirt, red tie. It's kind of like my trademark thing now. So it was one of those light bulb moments I had, and I'm not going to try to be disingenuous. It is very intentional as a way of marketing myself, making myself recognizable, and being able to better promote my organization.
it's funny too because in preparation for today, I think Kyle and I both watched your interview with Quantic at IPL, and you were wearing the same things. It was funny because I had just finished watching that. It's like, all right, I'll dial him up on Skype. Oh, look, same outfit.
The joke, my wife and I, how many red ties it's got like a whole section of white shirts and red ties. I should take a picture of it. I'm like, it might be humorous to some people.
I'm about to say, there's always that scene in every cartoon where the character opens his closet and it's all the same stuff. So
Exactly.
yeah. That's funny. So Quantic disbanding, it's up in the air. We just found out that they may not have to close their doors. But obviously that was a big hot topic. We got a lot of questions, on that subject. Tyrion on Team Liquid asks, are there any former players from Quantic, if they do go under that you are in negotiations with? I love these questions because I don't expect anyone to actually be able to answer them.
Yes, of course. Whenever a venerable organization like Quantic hits such bad news, of course, it's only prudent for us to speak to some of their players. And actually, to Mark's credit, I've seen Mark take some guff, some hard times on Reddit and other places. But he came to me a couple of days before this was announced and said, look, here's the deal, but I want to take care of my guys. my gamers, which ones do you think we could move over to complexity? I mean, he was like, even during probably the worst week of his life, he was looking out for his gamers on the way out the door, which gains a lot of respect for me. So we started speaking to different ones in different games. But I don't know a lot about it, and I don't want to play any kind of spoilers. But Slasher has tweeted that maybe they'll stay alive or whatever. So when I got back from the consulate yesterday and running my Korean friends around, I saw that and heard that. So I haven't pursued anything really actively. I hope Quantic can stay in business. Godspeed to them, and we're definitely not going to be out to poach their people if they do. So we'll wait and see, and hopefully they make it. And if they don't, we'll see if we can maybe give a home to some of their people.
That's good to hear. That is awesome to hear that they're for one of the first things they did was try and find other teams for their players. On that subject too, we got a very similar question, but just in general, saying that there are a lot of good free agents on the market right now, especially in Korea. Are there any that you kind of got your eye on?
Of course. It's that time of year in general. I mean, you do it all year round, but this is always the most interesting time of year for player trades. And some people go and you're sad. Some people come and you're excited. Honestly, I don't even know if I should say this or if it's popular, but I'm a pretty no BS type of person. It's an interesting time in StarCraft player negotiations because with the end of Wings of Liberty, and I mentioned this in the Quantic interview from Vegas, the numbers have been a bit disappointing. Reddit's noticed it, and then we have the infamous Destiny post, which I think had a good bit of truth in it, to be honest with you. And like anything in life, from the stock market to your own career, there are ebbs and flows in what things cost, right? And I do think right now it is a buyer's market. It sounds cruel and inhuman, but I'm talking just pure business. I
Sure.
do think it's a buyer's market for StarCraft players. There are more good players looking for a home than homes. It's traditional supply and demand, which for a guy like me is good news. For the scene in general, it's not great news. Like, I would love to be in bidding wars because there's so many teams, and there's that's more exciting. But right now it's ebbing a little bit. I was just talking to my partner Jason Bass about this today. We agree that some of the changes Blizzard's making and some of the things they have planned for next year that I'm not at liberty to discuss, I think they're working really hard, and I do think they're going to prop up StarCraft. And Heart of the Swarm still has some things to figure out, I think, before it's anywhere near as good as Wings of Liberty became after many updates. But I have confidence that Blizzard will do that, and I have confidence that the scene is going to be around for a very long time. Whether the proverbial bubble has burst, I don't think I'm qualified to judge, but I can tell you it's a buyer's market right now.
Makes sense. So, well, that does it for all our prepared questions, and I definitely want to have you out of here in under an hour. Can we take time for like 2 or 3 questions from the chat room?
Sure.
All right, cool. So chat room, send them now. We'll wait for that stream lag to go through.
But I appreciate you guys having me on, and I know you've been chasing me since June, so I do apologize. It's been one of those crazy things, but I think this is a great time of year, and I think it worked out because we definitely have some 2020 vision that we didn't even have this summer. It's been an interesting few months.
Yeah,
Most certainly.
Yeah, we really appreciate you coming on. I'm such a huge fan of your show, so it was really cool to have someone who is kind of familiar with podcasting on.
Well, and just great timing because if we were to do this back in June, it would have been so different. The scene we had all these expectations for the year. We weren't even looking back yet. And now, hopefully, we do have hope on the horizon.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
Absolutely.
Key Hunt asks, looking back, do you regret the infamous TSN interview?
Thanks, Kurt. I'll get you for that. I've answered this before, but basically, long story made short, when I first came in, one of the things I wanted to do was basically make the front page headline right out of the gate, and I was much younger, even more foolish than I tend to be now. And I just did an interview where I called out everybody and was just like yelling how I was going to take over Counter-Strike esports. Um, Intentional publicity boost at the time. Like you'll see some people do this from time to time. Listening to it later, it was kind of like a facepalm moment where I would have done it differently, but it was fun. It had the impact that I wanted. We were on the tips of everyone's tongues from that night, frankly, for many years. So I wish I'd done it a little differently, but it worked, and it was a long time ago, and I was a much younger man.
I'm sure everyone has a story similar to that. Like, yeah, I would have done it differently.
It's like I have an interview on our front page of our website because we just announced that we're expanding the Complexity Academy into League of Legends. So I did an interview with MobiFire, and they said, "What one thing have you learned in your years of gaming? If you could point to one thing," and I said, "You have to learn from your mistakes." That goes for life in general, I think. But if I could point to one thing in gaming, is we've all made a lot of mistakes, and as old timers, we know most of each other's mistakes, and we just rib each other about it behind closed doors. But learn from your mistakes and just move on, I guess.
Great. Captain Nubing asks, he says, I work at a very economy-driven place. For the last 5 years, we have been getting less and less work until this year. It's about 20% better than the previous. How has esports been doing in that time, and how do you feel based on this year, and how will it be next year?
So I guess the esports economy is basically what he's asking.
I think so. I think overall, I mean, we did just talk about how Wings of Liberty specifically, we saw kind of a downturn by the end of the year.
I actually think the future is bright. Like I said when I mentioned Simon Whitcomb, the numbers that we now have to go to bat with. When I say go to bat, I mean sit in boardrooms and try to close marketing deals are way more impressive. Even numbers from like 2006, 7, and 8 were just abysmal. And you're trying to get seven-figure deal. They look at you like you're crazy. Like, what? But the pitch then was, this is where it's going. Oh, hey, what do you know? We're right. This is where it's going. Now the numbers are in the millions, and there's millions of people aware of esports, and we're getting more mainstream coverage than ever. But now we've got the solid numbers. So I do expect to see, probably in about 2 to 3 years, to be honest, a much bigger influx of more mainstream brands and seven-figure deals. I don't think we're out of the woods yet, as Quantic's possible closing proves, but I do think we're headed the right direction. And when people say, what can I do for esports? I'm a starving student. I literally have no money. I can't even afford to buy a new headset to support Sound Blaster. I can't afford to buy a new mouse pad to support QPad. What they say, what can I do to help? Well, you probably have internet. And you probably have a PC or some kind of other device if you're at school. When streams are on and big events are on, just turn it on. If you're going out for the day to go surfing or jogging or whatever, leave it on. Honestly, just put on streams, leave them on, try to have a stream on for every event that for games you like, because those stats all matter. There's many days I'll have like 5 streams open on my second monitor, and I've got to like run the kids out for a few hours. I just leave them on all day long, whether I'm here or not, because they'll be running ads, they'll be collecting data, they'll be collecting statistics. Like when my players are streaming on Twitch, I'll have like several of them on, and I've got to go to the airport or whatever, for several hours. I just leave them on. Streaming is the easiest and cheapest way to support people. I mean, assuming you don't have bandwidth issues, but most in North America at least don't have bandwidth caps. So just stream stuff all day long. It does help.
Yeah. And sorry if you're in Canada. That's no fun.
Canadians.
All right. This will be the last question. Then we'll let you go. I promise. Complexity as a team has become much more spread out as an organization with many different teams. Do you think having many different games creates a large amount of overlap in the groups you are marketing to, or is it not as much of a concern?
I'm a big believer in multi-gaming. I think the diversification is wise, and catering to one community. like say StarCraft, it might be a great way to start out for sure. But I don't think it's wise for longevity. I don't think it's wise for having a diversified offering. Let's just say if you were a Quake only team and had a chance at a good League of Legends team a couple years ago, and you're like, no, we're only a Quake team, and now that team, is 1,000 times bigger than your Quake guys. Everybody does it differently. Like I said, management's an art form, not a science. But we're obviously believers in multi-gaming, and we love more than one game. I never in a million years would have thought I would have been a StarCraft type guy until I tried it. And I sit around at night lately, and when I have a chance to relax and play Firefall, it's a little FPS MMO. And I played multiple games this year, from Skyrim to Minecraft to Lost Cause 2. I love gaming. So spending all your money in one game, I mean, it might work for some people, definitely, but I always think diversification in life is a wise thing to do.
Great. I agree with that wholeheartedly. One game would be boring. So, Jason, again, thank you, dude, so much for coming on the show. It's been great having you. And before you go, where can people find you, Complexity, and your show, The Executives?
ComplexityGaming.com. I think you've got my Twitter on the screen, so I don't need to say that.
Well, for the audio only crowd, it's at @col_Lake.
Yes. Yep. Exactly. And watch for the white shirt and red tide events. Please come say hello. Don't be shy. I was at IPL for a few days and had one person, much lower than usual. No, I guess that's not true. I had many people say hello. But one person, I don't know his name, came up and had the kindest things to say, and we really appreciate all the work you guys have done. I really love Complexity. I really love Executives, and you'd be surprised how far that goes. Of course, there are some players like the Grubbies and the White Rods of the world that just have throngs of fans always on them, and after a while, that kind of gets to be a headache, to be honest with you. But most of the people in esports really do appreciate and want you to come up, and if you've got something nice to say, definitely don't be shy and let them hear it. And 99% of people in this business are very kind, even if they're busy. So come up and say hello. And so with that, thank you so much for having me on the show. I'd like to thank our sponsors: Sound Blaster, QPad, PNY, Origin PC, G8 Clothing, and Nation Voice Ventrilo. Without them, I definitely wouldn't be around right now. And thanks again for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thanks again.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for sharing your insight, and have a good night.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Take care.
You too.
Well, sweet. Well, don't go anywhere, because we still have a ridiculous amount of news to go through. It is insane, the amount of bombs Blizzard dropped this week.
Yeah, indeed we do. First off, obviously we've got the Heart of the Swarm beta balance update number 8. This is probably the hottest game news of the week. We're not going to get too deep into balance talk, because next week we're going to have our friend Buddha on, and I'm sure he doesn't want us to ruin all that for him.
No,
because he would love to talk about all these juicy tidbits.
If you're not familiar with Buddha, he's been on the show in the past when we did our sort of community strategy talks.
Right.
He is a Masters Terran player and recently cast for IPL.
Indeed he did, which is just awesome. We're so freaking happy for him. Anyways, let's get into it, dude. First up, the Terran. Spoiler alert, this is the thing I'm most excited about. Medivacs, dude. They've got a new ability currently in the beta called Emergency Thrusters. It's a speed boost that increases movement speed and acceleration to 4.25 for 8 seconds, and it has a 20-second cooldown. That is very interesting. We talked about this a little bit on This Week in Blizz on Monday, Kyle, and it is not energy-based.
No, this is an ability. For now, it is not an upgrade.
Nope.
And the upgrade actually is a change of the previous Medivac upgrade, which allowed you to just have more energy from the start. Now that upgrade is actually called the Consensus Reactor. They can't come up with normal names for these things. Increases the amount of health that it basically shoots out.
Yeah, health is restored per second from 9 to 15. The energy cost is reduced from 3 health per 1 energy to 5 health per 1 energy. At the same time, though, the cost for the medevac in general has been increased from originally it was 100 and 100 and built in 80 game seconds. It is now 150, 150, and it's built in 110 game seconds. I would assume, though, I guess if you get this upgrade, then you're going to need less medevacs to achieve the same amount of
Sure,
healing.
Blizzard is basically supporting what they saw many months ago, and it's kind of what they're embracing, in their opinion, what Terran made great during their mighty reign almost a full year ago.
The dark days.
The dark days of medvac drops.
Right.
It was insane. We all hated it, unless you were the Terran, and you were probably having a great time. I was never skilled enough at Terran to play this way. You actually took some lessons in playing this method.
Yeah, and I was terrible at it. I don't have the multitasking skills to really kind of pull it off. But that being said, I did have my... I was creamed multiple times by our own Octane Pro using this method. He really loved that multiple prong drop.
As a spectator, this is going to be really exciting. I'm super jacked about this ability actually getting into the main game, because there is also a Mutalisk speed upgrade that hovers exactly at the right point here, because you're going to be accelerating up to a full 4.25 movement speed against the new Mutalisk, which is going a full 4. So you can outrun it while you're boosting, but otherwise you're dead.
Yep.
So do you use it when you run in to, get right on top of the base and drop? Do you use it to run out? You might, at this point, be able to use it for both with only a 20-second cooldown.
Yeah, I mean, personally, if I had to choose between the two, I would err on the side of escape. So.
Now, Blizzard is saying that they're probably actually not going to reduce this in any way. They're really happy with their new reactor upgrade. The only thing that they would truly mess with would be the cooldown of this ability. This seems like one of those things that they said, we're going to focus on all the new units first, and then we'll go back and mess with all the older units. I feel like this is an upgrade they've had planned for a long time.
Yeah, indeed. Moving on, though, just for sake of time, I want to keep this somewhat light, because there's so much to talk about. We're already an hour into the show. The Reaper has been changed as well. Its base speed has been upgraded from 2.95 to 3.7 or 3.375, so pretty decent speed upgrade. And the upgraded speed has been increased as well from 3.84 to 4.25. So we've got some pretty freaking speedy Reapers out on the field now. And this goes in line with what David Kim said earlier in the week, that one of the things they want to do is kind of, what's the word? Oh my
Encourage?
God. Encourage. There it is. Thank you, Kyle. My
You're welcome.
thesaurus. Encourage Reaper use. So this is obviously a step in that direction.
Yeah, particularly they're trying to encourage it against Protoss, because that's where the issue comes in. No one uses them against Protoss. Protoss, of course, just makes a nice little wall. Not like that matters for a Reaper, but immediately gets out that single Stalker, which can deal with any Reaper problems.
Right.
So this new speed now goes fast enough and quick enough away from the Stalker to actually maybe have some good. They're talking right now that in their own tests that this is too powerful in a TVT situation, and they're probably going to lower the damage it does against light, which I'm more than happy to have. Chasing these things around with Zerglings is one of the worst hobbies I've ever had.
Yeah, and seeing as you can outrun a Zergling with a Reaper, I'm okay with that change.
Yeah.
Widowmine no longer hits cloaked units, and it has a new upgrade called Drilling Claws. This decreases the burrow time from 3 to 1. I don't know why it just doesn't friggin' teleport into the ground at this point. And then it requires big change right here. It requires a tech lab and armory, and costs 150 with a 110 second research time. Oh, sorry. That's for the upgrade. That's not for the.
Yes.
Yeah, never mind. It's not a big change because it's something that didn't exist before.
It is interesting that they decided to get rid of the auto-targeting the cloaked units. It probably just wasn't an issue and probably never came up. I mean, it is Terran. They do have scans, and they have other abilities to deal with. By the time you actually got Widow Mines out, I can't really think of anything other than maybe a Chrono Boost Observer that might be bothering you at that point. This is to encourage late-game Widow Mine use, because in the late game, you're constantly having to reposition. 3-second burrow time, way too long, particularly when these things are supposed to be your cheap, sort of frontline dispensable units to protect your big siege tanks.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I like this. I'm kind of interested to see where they go from here.
And Ender in the chat room, yes, they do not target burrowed units that are, swimming like roaches or infestors.
Right.
Because those work on the same mechanic.
Yeah, so technically cloaked so you still need to detect them. The Thor going through some major changes as well. Might as well call it Optimus Prime now because it can transform all up in this hizzy. The 250mm strike cannons have been removed. Instead, the Thor can now switch between two modes, the high impact payload and the explosive payload. The mode shift takes 4 seconds. When in high impact payload mode, the Thor switches to a different anti-air gun, which is called the 250mm Punisher cannons. Because why not change the name slightly? It has.
To be fair, there are giant guns on its back, and with the, I can't even remember the name right now of the ability, but its missile ability, strike cannons. With the strike cannons gone, something should come out of those missile heads.
Well, in the past, that was their anti-air also, wasn't it?
Yeah, but those things kind of come out and they're like, and like shoot in separate directions and never come right out of the barrel anyway.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah, anyways, this is a more direct attack. It has a 10 range and it deals 24 flat damage. Also, Thor's gone through a little bit of a size increase. It went from 0.82 to a full 1, so now it's a little bigger. I wonder what that means for like Zergling's surface area now. Can you fit like one extra Zergling on a Thor in a full surround?
Basically, with this realization of a Thor that can switch between attacking light units in the air and a different attack, a different mode that attacks all air units for the same damage. So basically, you'd be using this against Tempest, Broodlords, Void Rays that we'll probably be seeing again.
Right, yeah, high impact.
Yeah, they changed the size of the unit to mess with people massing them, which is naturally going to happen if you are dead set, which so many people are, dead set on being only mech Terrans. And to combat that late game air Zerg, they're going to mass Thors.
Right, exactly. So I guess to simplify, high impact payload you don't want to use against Mutalisks.
No.
Right. So, Raven. It's been the subject of a lot of discussion this past month. The Seeker missile has been redesigned. It can now fire from 10 range. The missile comes out and stays immobile in front of the Raven for 3 seconds while charging up, and then it rapidly moves. They said it is not dodgeable at this point and explodes at the target for 300 single target damage. The targeted unit also lights up red when targeted. This is fairly unique. I don't believe anything else, any other targeted attack has this feature.
Yeah, unless you have like nuke, or if you're talking fungals with like an effect on them. But no, this is actually a red dot targeted above the unit's head. And it's a cool ability. If you actually see the target and you're quick enough to run out and away, the spell fizzles and doesn't go off.
I'm trying to think. We saw something similar to this. It was on the original Widow Mine when you had to target single units and it would like stick to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and actually people are a little upset about this change because it's very much like the current battlecruiser Yamato gun, where it charges up in the front, and if the unit actually runs away, that spell goes away. You keep your energy, you don't lose a cooldown or anything, but it's really similar. And only attacking a single unit. Granted, we have Thors now that can attack air with, splash damage for all armor types. And we have Widow Mines and we have tanks. It's sad to see the splash damage go on this missile, but it honestly makes sense right now.
It does, yeah. Like you just said, there's a lot of splash damage overlap going on, now with the new units and the changes. So,
I'm hoping so much that with this change, Yamato gun's going to change because they're just so similar.
I would agree with that. I mean, I'm surprised we haven't seen much tweaking with the battlecruiser period, because Blizzard just seems so hell-bent on promoting use of units that we don't see a lot of right now. And I would say the battlecruiser is right up there with the carrier for units we do not see often.
And I think that's purposeful. And there's not a problem with the battlecruiser right now. The problem is that no one uses it. And that is a very quiet problem. It's not a PR problem. No one's posting on Reddit and crying about it. So just let it sit in the sidelines. Eventually, we'll get around to the unit that no one uses. Really, you need a huge balanced game, and then you can prop up those small ignored problem child.
Yeah. Hellbat had a splash damage radius increase. It's changed from 90 to 110. And then the armory changed. The armory now only has one weapon and one armor upgrade, and it affects both air and ground upgrades for both factory and starport units. That's a pretty big damn change.
It is quite huge. As a Zerg player, I'm a little upset about it. I mean, granted, there's no melee units for Terran to make them have a separate upgrade, or you could have like, oh, well, they have a fire shooting upgrade and then a missile shooting upgrade. I mean, it makes sense. If you're upgrading a gun and a ship, and they both have the same sort of gun tech, this naturally should happen. But you're also opening up all this money to be poured into those other upgrades. Right. Or other buildings, such as, I mean, even sensor towers could be built with just the extra money that once was an additional whole set of 6 upgrades.
Yeah.
The armor for buildings. I mean, some of those upgrades, the range for a planetary, for like, these get kind of scary.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who doesn't play at a pro level, I'm very excited about that. It's like, yeah, I can finally upgrade my armor. I'll be curious to see, what the pros actually end up doing with that kind of that alleviation, or if this will even make it to the live game.
The important thing, of course, being that the way Terran works, it's not like Zerg. You don't get to wildly just switch back and forth between now I'm air, now I'm ground, now I'm air, and that would cause the big problem. So they are supporting air play and mech play at the same time.
Right. Let's talk a little Protoss now. The mothership, which also has been discussed at length over the last month, has some big changes now. The recall now functions as it does with the mothership core, so they are pretty much one and the same. Vortex now kills a single target, and it doesn't affect massive units. Have you seen the screenshots of this thing yet, dude? Like,
yes, it is depressing looking.
It is pitiful.
I mean, it might be cool someday when they add a new animation. Clearly, they're trying things out right now. It'd be much better if it was called Banish or something like that, because honestly, it leaves an effect there on the ground, but otherwise, a single unit just leaves. And it can't target massive units, which is bizarre. Again, like, that's what you would target with this thing.
Well, remember last week they were saying, we kind of want to make the mothership to the point where it's not used in pro games.
Well, sure. And
I think it's cool to that point, I think.
Well, I think it's important that they make it a decision now that people are saying, well, I'll just stick with the mothership. That's good. You should stay with the mother core.
Mother core.
Yeah, the mother. I'm just shortening it up. The MC. Well, that's a guy, so we'll call it the MSC. The MSC, we're good friends. And I think you should stick with him from time to time because he has certain abilities. And if you want that global sort of cloak, you should get a mothership then and suffer the consequences of not having Purify and other sorts of abilities.
Right. And also, the mothership core is now no longer considered massive.
Okay. Cool.
Right. The Oracle, they cannot figure this damn thing out. The pulsar beam is now called the activate pulsar beam and deactivate pulsar beam. When activated, the Oracle's pulsar beam is enabled, as I would assume it would be. The weapon deals 15 plus 10 versus light. It has the weapon period has been changed to 0.86, which is down from 1. The range was reduced to 4. And energy drain is now 4 per second.
Yeah, that's a little dense. Basically, what you need to know is that the Oracle can now turn on its weapon, much like the old mothership core used to be able to. And this allows it to kill things that aren't buildings, like workers.
Nice.
So
nice.
It's a limited time, engagement. It'll run out of energy eventually. If you run in every time you can cast this thing, clearly you're only going to get 1 or 2 workers. So.
Yeah, they also added on an extra 15 seconds to its build time, so now it takes 50 seconds to build.
This also allows oracles to be kept with the main army and be useful. I mean, right now they're extremely powerful in kiting, I don't know a Terran player in the beta who right now who isn't complaining about Colossi and Oracles just owning them with the time bubble, time warp.
Time warp, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. It's odd since the original intention of the Oracle was to harass workers without actually damaging them. And now they're just like, it almost feels to me like they're kind of giving up. Like, we can't figure out a good way to make that work, so we're just giving them damage.
It is kind of sad, but people don't want to waste their time. And pro players know what works, and killing workers works, and it wins games. Continually using all your time and clicks to, I mean, that's the reason we don't see like mass overseer and, you know, everyone just contaminating every single building. It'd be awesome and cool, but no one's at that skill level right now.
Yeah.
And to waste your clicks on that and your mind power, it doesn't pay off.
Yeah. The Phoenix got a range upgrade by 1. Its base range is now 5 instead of 4, and it still has the range upgrade, which still grants 2 range. So now instead of having 7, you'll have 8 range.
Yep. So this
Or,
is
sorry, instead of having 6, you'll have 7 range. Math is
exactly.
hard.
So now you'll have, with the upgrade, a whole nother 3 range that you can use to stay away from the now more speedy Mutalisks.
Yeah.
Hopefully making the game more exciting to watch and encouraging people to build Mutalisks in a game that has multiple tech trees. Here's the scary one.
Okay. Take it away, Kyle. Horrify me.
Dark Shrine used to cost 100 minerals, 250 gas. Now costs 100.
Yep.
The build time isn't decreased, so this isn't any sort of buff for rushing other than the fact that you will have more DTs if you just sit on your money when you get there. But they're saying it's to encourage late game usage of the DT. What they want to see is Zerg spread out all over the map, spread too thin, and you go, oh, now's the time. So late in this game, I can only afford a couple supply of it, but I'm going to make 1 or 2 DTs. And with 100 knockdown, it's not too big of a deal.
Yeah. Tempest now requires Fleet Beacon, and it attacks with 2 weapons. Now the primary weapon, which is called Kinetic Overload, hits air units and remains unchanged. The secondary weapon, however, Resonance Coil, hits ground units and does not deal bonus damage to massive units. And then a build time increase, or decrease, 60 down from 75. But that's interesting about the weapon changes.
Yeah, we're back to the Fleet Beacon, which is important because now we have a buff, a change. We'll see what happens with this Void Ray change in a moment. But Tempests need to be divided up, and they want people to really focus them on anti-air. And that's what we see in ZVP all the time is you are fighting Protoss, you will go Broodlords. And they're encouraging Ultralisk play with this. I'm excited to see what happens, particularly with the new Void Ray upgrade.
Yeah, the Prismatic Beam no longer charges up. It has its weapon period has been decreased by 0.1. It no longer does passive plus massive damage. And then it has a new ability called Prismatic Alignment, which increases damage to armored units by 6 for 20 seconds with a 1-minute cooldown. This does not scale with upgrades.
An interesting caveat there.
Yeah.
This basically means that they don't want you to mass them in late game and just roll in and destroy everything because you've massed them and you're not taken down by this 1-minute cooldown on this ability. It's a neat idea. I don't miss them in the least, but it's a shame it's not a strategy anymore to go straight for Void Rays and fly one in and destroy your hatchery right away.
Yeah.
Those 6 sad days, I never want to see them again, but it was a viable strategy. And now with Queens, something needs to be done with the Void Ray. I doubt it's this. I highly doubt we will see this all the way into the launch of the game.
Yeah. That's the remove of the charge up too. Just destroys so much of the Void Ray's character for me.
I know. Well, I assume with this new ability, it's gonna, charge up. It'll still use the same look, and because I remember when they upgraded the Queens and they completely took away their melee pecs, they changed that back eventually, made it look all nice and pretty.
Yeah.
But it is the personality that's just completely changing the character of it. It's got 3 crystals. The crystals charge up and they shoot a beam. It was pretty cool.
The podcast audience misses out on so much by not watching the show. You don't get to see Kyle do his hand impression of what 3 crystals
If my
charging
face
up looks
shit,
like.
yeah, going around in circles. Well, we can't pass up, and while these aren't in the official notes, there was a slight change to the carrier. And the carrier now has a slight buff in the background. You still have the same exact interceptor range. You need to fly on over, unleash your interceptors very slowly without the upgrade. But then now, instead, you can back up and they won't immediately return. As long as you are continuing to select attack on various units, those interceptors will stay busy and you can fly away to a much further distance.
Huh, that's cool. I why the hell wasn't that in the notes? That's kind of
It is.
big change.
I don't know. It's huge. It is really big news because that's the way they worked in Brood War, and it stops the carrier from being a sort of a move across the map because that's really all you can do with that thing.
Yeah, it felt like it was like a rubber band effect.
I mean,
Like
you
you stretch
could,
out and then sling back.
and you would like select all the interceptors and make them attack a single thing, but it wasn't pretty and it never really worked out well. Now you can actually escape the area, unleash these things. Oh god, with Tempest in the mix, it's nasty.
There's a lot of. They're really working on Protoss Air, and with the Terran upgrade buff, it looks like we're going to see a lot more Terran Air in the future as well. More air battles equals a happy me, so that always makes for a visual feast.
Well, and just these little tiny touches that are going to be great to see because that adds dramatic tension. You're watching a game, and the Protoss player has to fly his carriers well within range to get destroyed of a base, but then gets to back up. He successfully did it. He unleashed his interceptors, and now he gets to destroy it. It's going to be real cool to see.
Yeah. What's even cooler to see, though, is that Blizzard finally listened because the Hydralisk speed upgrade is now available at Lair Tech. Is there a party at your house this weekend, Kyle? Do we have banners that say Lair Tech?
We'll see what happens with this. This is really highly based on the Infestor nerf. They want to encourage Hydralisk to be used. The speed upgrade will allow you to micro them, actually move them around off creep and get something done, particularly with all the new things like having to run away from a giant missile or getting hit by Widow Mines.
Yeah.
It's important that we can move early on. It's real sad to see the Infestor go. That's the only thing that can encourage these Hydralisks to be built.
Right.
So we're going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, well, it's not like they're going to wipe Infestors off the face of the map. We're just going to hopefully, I mean, and I think this is the goal, we're going to see more diversity of units being used out on the field.
Yeah. There are Hydralisk timings. They're not pretty. This speed upgrade could be everything that you need.
Yeah.
Yet to be seen.
Yeah. Mutalisk, we already talked about that. There's speed increase. The Swarm Host, the health has been increased from 120 to 160. Joyous day.
Yeah. It's a 40-point increase, which is quite huge in this game. But we heard earlier in the week that Blizzard were kind of hinting, we're doing something to make your Swarm hosts more positional, or you can move them around easier. And basically, you can move them around easier without them getting killed. I've never had a problem with my lurkers.
Oh, slip.
Oh,
A
excuse me.
Broodwardian slip there.
I've never had a problem with my Swarm hosts. I always keep a Nidus right next to them for quick escapes. It's amazing how much damage you can do with that. And I just don't put them in harm's way. So with the Infestor buff, Swarm hosts, of course, are going to be the natural thing that more money gets spent on. Now you're going to hang out with maybe 4 Infestors for the whole game. Enough to chain Fungal, but it's going to be luck-based now.
Luck-based?
Yes, because the Infestor fungal growth in the Heart of the Swarm beta right now, in the real Rings of Liberty test map, we have something different going on. But in the Heart of the Swarm beta, it is now a projectile again. The speed of the projectile is 10, and the range is down to 8.
Yeah, so you're not excited about this whole projectile jazz, is it? Are you?
No, not really. It didn't work well last time. It seems really disappointing when you put it up against something like a High Templar that can instantly cast his spell, or even as a ghost that does have a launching missile, but that thing's wicked fast. I mean, if we're going with Brood War, that thing, you even remember the, like it would fly out, it'd take some time. There really is no comparison to this, so we'll see what happens here as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big difference though between you've got your Storm and your EMP, and then Fungal. I mean, Storm and EMP can be moved out of after they land. Fungal, you're rooted in place.
Yeah, it's an extremely powerful ability.
Yeah. So someone in the chat room, give Mork his mod status back.
I'm working on it.
We have too many viewers for me to find his name quickly. It's a good problem to have. Infested Terrans no longer gain weapon and armor upgrades, and the Infested Terran egg health is down to 70. So more slight nerfs to the Infestor there.
Yeah.
Actually, the weapon and armor upgrade no longer effective is a pretty big nerf.
Oh, it's huge. That's just frightening, because with the Swarm Host now in the game, with the Hydra speed in the earlier game, that upgrade is dynamite. Awesome. But now it's completely gone from the Infested Terrans.
Yeah, chat room is correcting me. I don't know why I said you can move out of EMP. That was dumb. You can't. It is instant. Touche, yes. Chat room. Ultralisks. Burrow charge has been removed, as we knew it was going to be. And
breaking my heart. Yeah. But there is a huge buff for Ultralisks. They're going from their 15 damage, plus 20 against armored. When you say it right now, it sounds real depressing. Up to a flat 35. 35 damage, pretty sweet. But wait a minute, there's more. Ultralisks have 2 blades, and much like Zealots, make 2 sweeping attacks. That is 70 damage, sir. And
if you order now...
we will throw in those medevacs with the new upgrade absolutely free, because that's the only way those dropped Terran units are going to survive against this Ultralisk. I'm super excited.
Yeah, so is this... Is this a good enough of a trade-off for you, Kyle Ferguson, the lover, the man who goes to sleep at night and cuddles up next to Burrow Charge?
Yes. Oh, man, if I had a plushie, man, I wish I had an Ultralisk plushie. That'd be awesome. But yes, I am pleased because they buffed the Viper as well, increasing its health by 30 points. This means that the Viper can actually survive a few hits, fly up over a cliff maybe, grab those Ultralisks, pull them up over maybe. There is plenty to do with the Viper combined with the Ultralisk. We don't need Burrow Charge. And other than getting slight cloak for the in-between time, it was basically a blink. It was kind of boring. Sweet, but boring.
Yeah. So anyway, some other incoming features that came with this patch. We got the group feature, which is very similar to clans, but there's no cap on how many people can be in the group, and you can be a part of many groups, and you don't get a tag in front of your name.
Yep, so you get one clan, and then you can just join whatever groups you want. And there's going to be news, and I've made a clan called Kyle, and the member's me, and we have our first bit of news posted, and it's that I'm awesome. But it's cool. You can exchange all the news. You have your gamer tag. And at the same time, you can still support everyone you ever wanted to through these groups.
Yeah, indeed. I'm sure there'll be a StarCast one if there's not one already. Lord knows there's a clan already snatched up within like 5 minutes of the damn server going live last time. Me and you and they're in there. Hey, how do we get into our own clan? Can someone let us in?
And as people may be noticing, I sadly do not get to talk from experience tonight. The servers have been down since this patch was released.
Yeah, I think they're back up now, though, Kyle. So I'm thinking 2v2s when we get done, because 2v2s are turned on, and I'm so stoked.
I am so excited about this. I love me some 2v2s. 1v1, of course, I mean, that's where you prove yourself. But 2v2 is where you relax before you head to bed, so you're not pissed off.
That's where you have fun with your buddy. I had a blast with Mork this past week in Wings of Liberty. It was good times. I made the mistake of trying to play Zerg, and he made the mistake of trying to play Protoss. And then we're like, you know what? Let's switch to Terran and Zerg and win, and we did. So that was fun.
Let's get Vipers to pull the Thors up into the other person's base. I mean, the combinations have not been discovered yet, and I am so excited.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. They fixed the clan invite spam, and to quote Blizzard, hooray, esports is saved, because no one would shut the hell up on Reddit about it.
Okay, honestly, join a clan. Join a clan before your darn esports match, and maybe you won't get invites because you can't. I mean, if you've played World of Warcraft, you know that you join your buddy's guild right away, so you don't have to deal with that. Even if you don't plan on sticking around, maybe you make a guild and pay people 5 gold to sign up. I don't understand why this was such a big deal, and clearly it's beta.
You, of all people, should know not to cite World of Warcraft while defending StarCraft.
Okay, decent point. And people are like, guilds? What? World of Warcraft?
Probably one of the more interesting things that I don't think got enough limelight is AI builds have been added with this patch. You can play against a computer now, and you can dictate what build it's going to do. Right now in the game, we've got full rush, timing attack, aggressive push, economic focus, and straight to air. How freaking cool is that?
It's incredible. And actually, I've heard that just the AI in it alone is a lot smarter. And the scouting that the AI performs is very precise. It checks behind minerals. It looks all around if it can get in.
Yeah.
I've actually been corrected by the chat room. Mork has told me that the invites still come. Well, that's just stupid. So blame back to Blizzard then. Excuse me for my defending.
Killing esports, no, because the game's not live. So it's not killing esports, because no one's really... we're not going to see GSL next week doing it.
But a bit of an oversight? Hell yes.
Oh, yeah, big time. I love that I can get an invite even though I'm already in, and it's just going to give me an error when I try to join that second clan.
Hey, man, the grass is always greener.
Yeah. On a lot less exciting news, we got a Wings of Liberty balance update. Basically, the Raven Seeker missile...
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but there was one other change that I have to mention. And it's that there's a new victory screen that takes up your entire screen.
I saw that. That's going to make me feel very good that one time a week I get to see it.
Not only will it make you feel really great, Garrett, that huge screen stops the other person from messaging you for that time. So you can enjoy your victory to its fullest extent before you, of course, log out and then see the messages that person left you.
Man, if you hadn't won, I could have beaten you.
Uninstall. GG.
Yep.
No re.
Exactly. Yes, so Wings of Liberty got a minor balance update. The Raven Seeker missile upgrade has been removed. And the infested Terran eggs health are down to 70 from 100, and fungal growth range is down to 8 from 9. So a little bit of overlap with the changes we're seeing in Heart of the Swarm, which only makes sense.
Yep, interesting that they didn't switch the Wings of Liberty test map here to a projectile, though. And to be honest, I actually messaged you earlier this week saying I'm so happy that they're trying other avenues than going back to projectiles.
And then, bam!
Bam!
Kyle's Nightmare is back. So, good stuff. I'm interested. I wonder how this stuff will play out in the NASL finals this next weekend. These little changes here.
Well, these changes are, of course, the... oh, no, are these official? I'm sorry, I thought these were the...
Yeah, no. That is a balance change to the live Wings of Liberty game.
Oh,
It is not a test map.
I looked at that and just made assumptions. Well...
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were just referencing that you're surprised they didn't do projectile on the test map. Whatever the case, we cleared it up.
Yeah, whatever. I've been corrected, and that is interesting. I like the Terran egg change. They really need to implement that different looking eggs immediately, though. Because even watching this past GSL final, like who's winning? I'm trying to count roaches. Whatever.
Every egg should have a little flag sticking up out of it that is color coded.
We need some patriotic infested Terrans.
There you go. Moving to some esports news. J-Dong, man, he's on EG now.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, and he's going to be competing in Pro League with our next bit of news that Team Liquid and Evil Geniuses are teaming up for Pro League 2013, which just boggles my mind.
Oh yeah,
because and must have boggled a lot of people's mind, and I'm sure Nazgul and Alex Garfield were very aware, because in both of their statements they mentioned, yeah, we know, we're rivals. What of it? We're taking on a bigger monster.
It's awesome. There's a bit of, is he on the team for good? Is he just kind of on there for now? Is there actually a deal where he's going to head back to his previous team? There's also the drama saying that he is left indefinitely unless they can put their shit together.
Yeah. Indeed. So, speaking of getting their shit together, Kesma strikes back like the evil tyrannical empire from Star Wars we know them as.
Oh dear.
I really think that they have emperor chairs there for all of their higher-ups. DOA posted this on Team Liquid, saying that OnGameNet will not be broadcasting the SK Planet Pro League this season in English. And as we said last week, or maybe it was just Monday, I think. I don't know. We because I do 2 shows now where we talk StarCraft, and one of them we talked about how Pro League is going to be all year long. I'm pretty sure it was last week on StarCast. So we're going to have a year-long tournament with no English broadcast.
Saves a lot of money. Not too good for the fans.
No, it's not. To quote DOA's post, and this is kind of the meat of what's going on here. He said this season Kespa decided to run their own Pro League broadcast initially on weekdays while OGN ran the weekend broadcast. He said, as far as I know, about a week ago, Kespa approached OGN and told them that they'd be running their own streams simultaneously with OGN's on weekends as well. They'd also be sending a commentator they had picked themselves to TriCast with Monte Cristo and I. Naturally, OGN was upset about this, and Monty and I were a bit reluctant to TriCast with someone we'd never worked with before. OGN went back to have talks yesterday and today with Kespa, and things did not go well. Kespa has also been approaching English casters about the job, but so far none have accepted that I'm aware of. And not surprising, I agree with that not surprising bit.
This is something we'll definitely be talking about in the future. It's frightening to see, but I find myself lacking a comment. It just seems so...
Loving's in the chat room is saying that Jason Lee may be broadcasting this in English and that Kespa will have their own English broadcast. That doesn't mean that Kespa are any less of just jerks.
It seems that way.
This is a power play, like we've seen time and time again from Kespa.
But they've lost most of their power plays, so that's why I feel reluctant to comment on this at the moment. And I hope they lose out this time, too. I mean, we certainly saw the drama fall down with Slayers and the bullying that's going on among Korean teams.
Yeah.
It's no wonder why a lot of Korean players are looking for foreigner teams.
Yeah. And
less drama, more games.
I think the more pro Koreans that get off of Kespa-based teams, the better for everyone else in general.
Yeah, they have a fan base there, and they're keeping them locked up.
Yeah. So there's that. Obviously, there's a lot of like boycott Kespa stuff going around. Not saying I'm boycotting them, but there's a lot of other tournaments to watch, and I'll definitely pick those over this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, in better news, well, I don't know. It depends. This is definitely a opinion if this is good or not. But we've talked about what is tournament adoption of Heart of the Swarm going to look like when it does launch, and Mr. Che has confirmed that GSL is switching over to Heart of the Swarm for whatever the first season happens to be after the release of the expansion. So makes sense.
Makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even our guest tonight, Jason Lake, kind of hinted at Blizzard's involvement in these tournaments coming up next year. And apparently he was privileged to some knowledge that he didn't want to share. But we can make assumptions that we know about the Blizzard private server that they're going to kind of bring around to these various events. Would it be a Heart of the Swarm server? Hell yes. And you will be playing on it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I mean, they did say, I don't think everyone's going to have that because you have to pay for it, but...
No, not every single one, but certainly your big tournaments are going to switch immediately over to Heart of the Swarm. And there will be stragglers. There's no reason not to expect that. No one's going to think it's a perfect game the day it releases.
Yeah. Anyways, let's talk results before we end the show. This past week we had the GSL finals. CVZ. You know my thoughts on the subject.
It was well rehearsed. Good production value. They actually informed the players what they should do when approached by fans or walking down the aisle or winning the event. I don't think there's any disadvantage to our Masters of Ceremonies having cards It works really well. And if you're reading the translation at the bottom of the screen during the GSL finals, they were doing some sick amp ups for these characters. And I don't think it should be looked down on. I think we should have Clutch out there with cards dispensing the information that needs to be heard. They had some great filler information as well. They had an entire rundown of the previous GSL seasons up until this point. They kept everyone entertained in the audience, not to mention it was an actual theater. No fold-out chairs here. So well done. And this, of course, this production value leaked into IPL 5 as the GOM TV production crew took over it. And if you saw the pictures from it, it was a large production team that they flew in.
Yeah.
Kept everyone local. And that's important, as we've learned with these previous tournaments.
Yeah. Chat room, we kind of already discussed Quantix or not disbanding with Jason Lake. So if you missed it, go ahead and check the podcast version. There's not really much more to say other than I think what we discussed with Jason.
And I have some sad things to say, but I don't know if I should be sad yet.
Yeah, now we found out that they may or may not be, they may not have to close their doors, which would just be awesome. Speaking of IPL 5, another ZVZ finals, we had Leenock taking first place, Violet taking second, and Polt taking third. Really impressive showing by Polt. I was really stoked to see him get so far.
Yeah, I must say I missed this event, but I haven't heard anything bad, which is a relief after last year.
When the biggest complaints are just the matchup of the finals, I think you have a good, you can consider that a victory. At least the loudest complaints, anyway. And then we also had WCG 2012, where Parting took the first spot, adding on to his BWC victory. Just more money in his filling up rapidly bank. So I was kind of sad MKP didn't make it out of the round of 8 over there. Alas. And then, this Monday, December 10th, quite possibly the most epic day of Code ever. So just so you know, you should go check that out. We've got Bomber, Flash, MVP, Gumio, Nesty, Losira, and Jaedong all playing their Code matches on the same day. So go check that out.
It's going to be pretty epic, actually, and the matchups are pretty intense. There's a lot of TVTs, which I'd be sad about, but I love watching Gumiho TVT. And going up against Bomber is going to be a sight to see.
Yeah. We've got emails and chat room. If you have any questions for Kyle or I before we end the show, now is the time to do that. We have an email from Joel in Sweden who says, "Hello, Garrett and Kyle. You youngins keep talking about the N64. My first computer was a Commodore 64. It had 16 colors and an SID chip. Say what you will about the graphics, but the music was great. Keep up the great work." This, of course, is a rebuttal from last week when we talked to a gamer who considered himself old. I do not consider 38 old, but hey.
No, certainly not in today's age of tech. If you see a population chart of the world, come 1920, there is an explosion due only to penicillin. And it's ridiculous how many people now live in this world and how much older we are living. So we'll totally be all sporting games until we're, senile enough not to play them.
Yeah.
That's my plan anyway. I want to be that awesome uncle, grandpa, whatever it may be, that has all the cool stuff.
I don't know what he's talking about, us talking about the N64. My first system was an NES. I'm not that young. Damn.
No, I'm pretty young. My first system was an N64. That's because I was a slacker.
I'm about to say, you're also the same age as me, so it's just... You just got in later.
I had a Game Boy and a Game Gear, but, systems are a different matter. I certainly appreciate it that computers now don't use system noises for my game music.
I played through all of the original Dark Forces with no sound because the computer I was playing on did not have a sound card.
Yeah, they need to bring back force feedback joysticks. Those were awesome. Did you ever get to play with one of those?
Force feedback joysticks? No.
Yeah. Oh, it was for Jedi Knight, and it actually had weight to it, so it felt like you were wielding a lightsaber. And they also had you could do a dual setup one for the pod racing game on computer.
I was so young during the original Dark Forces and X-Wing versus TIE Fighter days that I did not have much say in the computer peripherals that were in the house. So I had the cheapest joystick I could find at Big Lots.
Sure, and we're really gonna show our age when we can say those games were too violent for me back then. I wasn't allowed to play Doom.
I was not allowed. Doom. I was not allowed, and I had to plead. I had to make a freaking presentation for why Mortal Kombat would not warp my fragile little mind.
I was really sensitive, so I was like, "Oh, Mortal Kombat, no, it's gross."
Oh, man,
It was my own fault there.
I played
Then, like,
the crap out of that game when I finally
like
did
5
break
years
my
later.
parents.
Yeah, 5 years later, I'm playing Halo, shooting people in the face,
Okay,
experimenting with neutral people in the face, running around the Phantom Menace game, killing all the Jawas. Like you get desensitized.
yeah. Shadowfax wrote in, he says, "Hello, StarCast. I am in an exciting time. I am moving in with my longtime friend. In the midst of planning, signing, and preparing, video games came up as a natural discussion. He is somewhat of a gamer, but has never touched StarCraft. I am a Masters random player, and I'm really into the whole esports spiel. My coming roommate has never touched StarCraft. He is refusing to try as he will never become as good as me. I have tried saying that we could play some team games, but he doesn't want to be irrelevant, and I would still be much better than him. So my questions are, number 1, how do I convince him to play StarCraft? And number 2, what other games can we play together?" He says, "I haven't played any other game in the last 5 years. We have talked about Warzy and DayZ. First of all, I would say boycott Warzy because it's a shameless ripoff of DayZ, and they should not prosper as a result. And how have you not played any other game for 5 years if StarCraft... Well, you probably just played StarCraft 1. Okay. All right. Kyle,
Yes.
you are the herald of all things. You got your girlfriend to try StarCraft, so you could probably get anyone to try StarCraft.
Well, yeah, and what you got to do is just leave them alone with it. You got to load it up, say have fun. So hard to do. Just from the bottom of my heart, man, I understand. It's like watching someone not use the scroll wheel while browsing the internet. You're like, what? And they're like, okay, I'm going to go over here and grab the sidebar and drag it down. You're like, no, old person. There's technology in your hands. And they're going to not A-move, and they're going to be awful. And, you know, you don't even want to play with a 2v2 partner like that because you're going to get frustrated. It's going to ruin your friendship, and you're going to say, you know what, just give me control. Just build workers and just, like, send me all your money. We'll win this. He's not going to have fun. You're going to be pissed off. So lend him the game. Let him enjoy it. Then come back later.
I agree entirely. I remember trying to get Katie, my girlfriend, into games, WoW specifically, way back when WoW was new. And the worst thing you can do is stand over their shoulder and try and teach them how to game.
Oh yeah, I mean, Kristen was on my raid team for most of my WoW career, and we had a great time together. But when we first got going, I chose her class for her because I knew what we needed as a raid and all these sort of things, and it was a horrible situation. 2 months later, finally got to try again, and at that point, I was prepared to just let her play.
Yeah. You should never pick someone's class for them. That's terrible. How dare you?
Well, I thought she might enjoy it. I hadn't seen her play that many video games at that point. Now I understand she's a crazy, screaming berserker in everything she does.
Which is hilarious if you've ever met Kyle's girlfriend, Kristen, because she is so tiny and cute and adorable.
She's so small, and then I'm like 100% support. I try. I think I'm going to be a badass today. I'm like, yeah, load me up with that shield and board. Well, wait, that'd be 2 shields. I mean, sword and board.
Sword and board, sir.
Yeah, let's go. Or I'm DPS today. Let's do it. No. I mean, just take a look at my Dota profile. Every single hero I suck with, carry. Every single one I'm great with, heavy support and heals.
You're very maternal.
I guess so.
If you ever have children, you'll be the stay-at-home mom.
Yeah. That's true. At least I'll be tall enough to, like, pull them out of harm's way.
Yeah. Looking at chat room questions. The age-old, do you guys listen to any other podcast questions? Kyle, you listen to anything? Anything new that we haven't talked about on the show at length?
Oh, boy. Anything new? I guess the newest thing I've been listening to is The Morning Stream with Scott Johnson.
That is my go-to every Monday through Thursday morning.
Yeah, well, because it comes out every day.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds so unprofessional to say it, but it's such a fun segment. Celebrity Poop, which is big crap news that's happened throughout the day. I mean, they just have a great time over there. You gotta love Film Sack and all the old regulars there.
Sun Thonax asked, how is the pro scene for mid-level professionals? What's life like outside of DreamHack / high-profile tournaments? I guess he's calling us mid-level professionals.
Oh man, I wish.
I don't think I'm professional at all, but it's fun. Probably the best thing is when people like Destiny make asses out of themselves. You can say he's a dick, and you don't lose sponsors.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the advantage of being at the level this show is in. We get to have all these wonderful guests from all different areas of the scene, and we get to comment quite freely. And because of that, they get to comment freely. And we wouldn't have the liberties on the show we do have if we had to cater to whoever was our, what tournament was sponsoring this show, where we were broadcasting from.
Yeah, exactly. I guess I didn't mention any podcasts I'm listening to. I just recently started listening to the Indoor Kids, which is the Nerdist Network's gaming show. And it is awesome. I'd highly recommend the Adam Sessler episode. Adam Sessler, if you're not aware, was the host of X-Play, which was on G4, and before that Tech TV, and whatever Tech TV was before that. It has survived many incarnations of that god-awful network, but has somehow remained something worth watching. I had terrible internet growing up, so I was so late to the game on websites like Kotaku and IGN before they became the juggernaut they are now, and I don't really read a lot of IGN. But I really like Adam Sessler, and he recently left G4, and now he's part of Revision 3. But anyway, they sat down and did an episode with him. It was about an hour long, and it is so great. They get really deep down into kind of the philosophy of gaming and how the, it's what the level that of demographic that is appropriate shifted over the last decade. So I highly recommend that. It's a great show. So go listen to that. Were there any other questions I missed?
There's a fun one here. Outside of gaming, what other interests do you have?
Oh, go first.
Well, it's still kind of gaming, but I'm a huge Dungeons and Dragons fan. Love being my dungeon master. I play fetch with my cat. I'm going to have to think about this, actually. Because, honestly, I've gotten more into console gaming now that I have a job that's, sitting at a computer all day. So that's recently picked up. But hobbies, other than gaming, I don't know if I have any.
You have nothing outside of gaming?
I mean, Dungeons and Dragons, being a good boyfriend, going to movies.
Casual alcoholism, substance abuse. I don't know. No.
Those are all things that are combined with gaming, though.
Yeah.
Those make gaming better.
God, yeah, gaming is such a big thing. Well, I'm an artist by trade. I've got a day job as a graphic designer. I'm working on a website, and it should be up hopefully by the end of tomorrow. So I'll probably pimp it on next week's.
Ooh, that is an excellent way to put this. Mederex in the chat room says, what would you do if the power went out? And if that's tied to the same question, that's an excellent way to sum this up. What hobbies do you have when there is no power?
But then I can't do art.
Yes, you can. You can doodle on paper.
I can doodle, yes, but I can't do layouts and stream graphics.
What? There's tons of paintings from the past. I mean, that's what painting is.
No, I'm talking about what I do for a living. So.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. No, doodle or comics. Comics are a big thing for me. I'm a big comic dork, especially lately. We're getting back into it. Yeah, I've been reading a lot of The Walking Dead. Been catching up on that with Katie, my girlfriend. It's funny. I think you and I are what is our outside of gaming thing? Relationships. We're in very, very serious relationships that take a lot of time. People are always like, why don't I see you in StarCraft more? It's because, well, I do this show and another show, and I raid on Tuesdays, and I'm going to soon be doing a third show, and there needs to be time for Katie, for our relationship, and it's really important to me, and I know you and your relationship with Kristen is really important to you.
Yeah, well, and I mean, it's also my best friend. I mean, you gotta have an exchange there. You can't expect her to always be there for you if you're not going to be there for her.
Yeah, exactly. So we watch a lot of movies. We read together. I try to go to bed at a decent hour and watch some TV with her. We recently have been barreling through the British Sherlock series on Netflix, and it is phenomenal.
So you're watching the British Sherlock, but you still haven't seen Doctor Who?
Nope.
Oh man, you got to sit down and do that.
I don't know where to start, and there's so much of it. Sherlock's like, oh, there's only 6 episodes. Granted, they're 90 minutes long each, but there's only 6 episodes. That is something I can easily wrap my head around and digest. There is decades of Doctor Who.
Help me out, chat room. What's the episode with the angels? Just tell them to start on it. Angels,
No,
David Tennant.
And actually, you don't need to get there because I've already texted SDS Tash, and I asked him, hey, I'm about to finish up Sherlock. I want to start Doctor Who next. Where do I start? And he's already got me situated. So don't worry.
Okay.
I'm getting on it very soon. Battlestar Galactica, Ace and Kush is next on my list. I haven't seen Battlestar Galactica, which, Kyle, I know you're not a big fan of.
No, no, I did. It wasn't fantastic enough for me. Very dramatic. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Everyone's an alcoholic or dying or, yeah.
Yeah. So
Looking forward to the next Star Trek movie though.
Oh yeah. Oh god. We could spend 2 hours just talking about the random crap that happened at the end of this show. But alas, it is our 2-hour mark, and we need to end this. So if we didn't get to your questions, bring them next week, where we'll be having Buddha, our buddy, who also just recently casted IPL. We cannot wait to talk to him about his thoughts on the current Heart of the Swarm balance and what it was like to go cast a major event. So
we also tweet these reminders throughout the week, and you can also send any questions by email as well.
Yes, you can. That email is starcastshow@gmail.com. Anyways, thanks very much to Avius11, who left us a new 5-star review in the iTunes store this past week. If you are an audio-only podcast listener via the iTunes brand, and you haven't left us a review, please head on over to our iTunes listing and do so. It helps the show out so freaking much and doesn't cost you a dime. And neither does the show. StarCast is a production of amove.tv. TheStarCast.com is the place to go for our forums, our archives, our t-shirts, and more. You can catch us live every Thursday night right here at 8 p.m. Eastern Time at twitch.tv/amovetv. Follow us on Twitter. You can follow the show at The StarCast. You can follow me at Garrett Art. You can follow Kyle at Kyle Ferguson with 2 S's at the end of his name. Big thanks to our big thanks to our production crew, Octane Pro and Captain Noobing, for booking those guests and editing the podcast version. You can check out Kyle and I's other show, This Week in Blizz, if you enjoy Diablo, World of Warcraft, and StarCraft as well. And big shout out to an unknown show for me personally, Gameosophy. It's a podcast, I believe, relatively new. Anyway, Kevin and the guys over there run a great show, and I was a guest on their episode this past week and the subject of the episode was RTSs. So go check that out. It's GameOsophy. It was a lot of fun. I had a blast over there talking about ridiculous stuff. If you enjoy the format of this show and This Week in Blizz, where we try very hard to have a serious discussion, but just can't help but having a good time, you will enjoy Gameosophy, so go check them out. And Kyle, where can people find you having an even better time?
You can find me on Biggest Fan Podcast, where we follow the fad that's driving you mad. We pick one topic a week, go over it as though we've never heard of it before. And this week, super excited because we're going to be talking about Santa. Biggest Fan Santas this week, bringing back all of the lore of Kris Kringle, the original incarnations of Santa, what Santa's become since Coca-Cola, and all that sort of goodness.
Wonderful. What is the face-off at the end? Real or not real?
Oh, that'd be awful.
He's real, damn it! I saw soot-covered footprints leading through the tree as a child, which my parents actually did once and totally sold Santa on me for years longer than I probably should have.
Oh, I was sold on the presents alone. I even found them in the closet, and I was like, "What is this?" And they're like, "Kyle, you're too old." And I'm like, "Blah, blah." I mean, with my imagination, my love of lore, I was buying into that until I was like 14.
Wonderful. This reminds me, make sure you tune in 2 weeks for our Christmas special. No scheduled guests. It's going to be all call-ins via Skype. So make sure you tune in for that. So, yeah. And Mark, I know you're listening. You better don that tuxedo and call in on video, because it's not a Christmas without Mark in a tuxedo. Big thanks to our sponsors, doghousesystems.com and tweakedaudio.com. Our code is StarCast for both of those sponsors. Head on over there, let them know we sent you. That code, let me tell you what it does before we leave. It gets you double memory on your next Doghouse Systems gaming rig. That is what I personally use. It is the best damn computer I've ever had. And tis the season. So grab it. And not just the season to gift or buy yourself a computer. It's the time to buy games because they're going to go on sale. Because Steam is crazy and makes me want to lighten my wallet. So if you want to get all those games and jack them up as high as the settings will let you do it, Doghouse is no better place to go. So go do that because I'm still loving the crap out of Borderlands 2. Damn, that is a fun game. So, yeah. That same code gets you 30% off and free shipping on your entire order of earbuds from tweakedaudio.com. Kyle, did I tell you I finally started working out again?
Did you actually?
Yeah, because I'm going on a cruise for Christmas, which means I have to take off my shirt. And it's not beautiful under here.
You know what? I actually need to admit that I started working out as well. And maybe it's because we listened to the same podcast where someone started working out, and I was like, damn, if I'm going to be listening to this, I'm going to be listening to Scott talking about working out all the time.
Yeah.
And it got me going as well. I've actually started a photo log for myself so I can actually be encouraged, because I've worked out in the past, and I'm like, yeah, looking good. Well, now that I look good, I can stop working out, right? And I feel like keeping that photo log is really going to help me.
Yeah, and if you're wondering what the hell does this have to do with earbuds, it's because I use them working out, and I love them. They're phenomenal workout earbuds.
Honestly, we say it every week because it's absolutely true. These earbuds are amazing. They are way better quality than the price you pay for them.
Yeah, and with our code, they're even cheaper. It gets you a 30% off of their already super cheap prices. So go over there and get a discount. Don't pay for the shipping and fill those stockings up with those earbuds. So we thank them very much for their support. And guys, we'll see you again next week for episode 132 with Chris, better known to you all as Buddha. Until then, everyone, good night and good luck and have fun.
Take care.
All right. Shall we record our pre-show roll?
Let's do it.
All right. You got your Cliff Notes?
Yeah. Did you want to do like a bullet for bullet sort of thing, or just kind of intro it?
Just make it natural, man.
Okay.
BS, laugh, have fun.
Cool.
Eat, drink, and be merry.
And then sponsors and all.
Of course, fun. Yeah.
Sweet.
So. Hello, Starcasters, and welcome to episode 131 of StarCast, and welcome to our beginning dealie that I should name this, what, pre-roll or something? I don't know, Kyle, what would you call it?
Well, we do it after the show, but it's before the show. I'd call it Time Warp.
Time Warp. This is, of course, for you, the audio-only podcast listener, to kind of preface you, let you know what's going on, and, of course, shine a little bit of light on our sponsors before we get rolling. Anyways, we have an awesome freaking episode for you today. This thing is stacked to the brim, so much to the point where we had to kind of, like, leave the nitty-gritty balance talk for next week with our guest Buddha, because we know he's going to want to talk about it because he's a big, high-end, pretty high-level player, definitely higher than us.
Yeah, if you have ever been interested in the StarCraft scene as a business, this is the show for you. Jason Lake, our guest, dropped so many knowledge bombs, shared just a great amount of time with us, and we thank him so much for dedicating an hour of his time after he got back from IPL and all the drama that happened. Not real drama, but there was some travel drama that happened to the guy.
Yeah,
so we
indeed.
thank him so much for coming on and spending as much time as he did.
Yeah, so he is, of course, the CEO of Complexity Gaming, and he hosts a show called The Executives, which I'm a huge fan of. You should go listen to it right now, but after the show, because you're about to hear him talk. We also talk about the new Heart of the Swarm beta balance, the Wings of Liberty balance update, which isn't nearly as exciting because there's so much crazy crap going on in Heart of the Swarm right now. Groups, not as exciting.
No, not quite. Not as quite as the massive amount of Christmas balance changes we're going to have to enjoy over our break, as well as some actual game changes to Wings of Liberty.
Yeah, indeed. We talked about the Quantic debacle, them disbanding, well, possibly. It's kind of up in the air at the moment. J-Dog coming to EG, and then Team Liquid and EG's teaming up for Pro League, and then Kespa ruining Pro League for everyone, as they usually do. Then we talk about some tournament results, and as always, we take your emails at starcastshow@gmail.com. And,
as well as questions from the live show tonight, was wonderful, really active live show, and so we get a bit off topic.
We only had to ban like 2 people. That's like a record. So enjoy that. So support our guests. Head on over to complexitygaming.com and support them. And please support our sponsors, dogcastsystems.com. We talk about them so much on the show. It's really simple. Their systems are awesome. I use one, and it's great. And the only thing better than their system is their service. John and Keith and Clark and the rest of the staff over at Doghouse are just phenomenal. You're not gonna call and wait on a lifeless answering machine hitting number after number. You're gonna talk to a person. They're gonna know what they're talking about, and they're gonna be able to fix whatever is wrong with your computer. And it's just great. I mean, before I even had one of their computers, they helped me out countless amounts of time fixing the POS I had before I finally picked up one of their systems. So they're just great. They are truly one of us. They are geeks, nerds, giant gamers. They even run their own podcast, the Doghouse Podcast, which revolves completely around giving people computer advice, and most of the people writing it do not have Doghouse systems. So if you want to buy a computer from a company that couldn't possibly put any more goodwill out into the world, it's Doghouse Systems. Use our code StarCast that gets you double memory on your next Doghouse system. 4 to 8, 8 to 16. No option for 32, as we've said in the past. So don't try it. It's like crossing the streams. Just don't do it.
Unless it's going to save the world.
Right. Aim for the flat top.
Yeah. Good job.
This is why we're such good friends, Kyle.
Dude, yeah, I mean, do you realize that because of the Twinkie no longer being in production, kids now are not going to understand about the giant Twinkie in Ghostbusters? People are going to say, what's that? What's a Twinkie?
I could go off about the subject for at least probably 20 minutes about who gives a flying crap that the Twinkie's not being made anymore.
You know what? This subject would probably sound even better through Tweaked Audio earbuds.
Oh, segue. Yes, that's our other sponsor, tweakedaudio.com. That's what they make, earbuds, plain and simple. They make them really well. They're noise reducing. They have phenomenal bass. They're high performance. Pick up the Parkour ones, which I have for the flat wire that does not tangle no matter how much you try. Do not use them as shoelaces because they will not tangle. It does not work.
No.
Same code as Doghouse. It's StarCast, and it gets you 30% off plus free shipping on your entire order. And both Doghouse and Tweaked have been supplying prizes for Artcraft's Masters tournament. That's right here on this amove.tv channel every other Wednesday. I believe there is one coming up next Wednesday. So a big thanks to them for all their help on that. And then our final sponsor, sc2quoteoftheday.com. If you've ever tuned in live, especially in the last month, you should know Quotes, the gentleman who runs it. He's been giving away stickers. He comes in, he watches the live show. He's such a great guy. I love that he sponsors our show. And I love his hideous time vampire of a website because we all get bored in places where we probably should be being productive. And what better way to waste time than look up StarCraft 2 quotes? And what better way than to spend money on their awesome T-shirts at the store that they just opened up this month. So go head on over there and check those out. And I believe if you are a Masters player and you sign up for the Artcraft Masters tournament that's going on this upcoming Wednesday, you have a chance to win one of those SD2 Quotes shirts because they're the ones supplying the prizes for the month of December. So go own some noobs and win yourself an SC2 Quote shirt. So big thanks to all of our sponsors. If you ever want to include a personal message to someone you love or know that listens to the show, you can head on over to StarCast.com and do so. We offer episode sponsorships and jazz over there. But yeah, so very cool. Stay tuned. Listen to Jason Lake. Tune in next week for Chris, better known as Buddha. And here it is, episode 131 of StarCast. Got a little wordy at the end on you.
Oh, well. It was nice. I thought it was a good rundown.
Yeah. Cool. Zero Hawk. Slow clap.
They did it. They did the thing live that they're not supposed to.
Yeah.
You're ruining the magic, man.
Hey, to the people who stuck around, if y'all could do me a favor, and at some point head on over to Team Liquid, leave us a comment in our Team Liquid thread, because that thing's like dying. Like no one ever talks over there anymore. Really appreciate it. So I'm gonna throw a link in there, but you don't need to do it right now. If you're ever just bored surfing Team Liquid this week, go over there, leave a message, tell us we suck, tell us we're awesome. I don't care. Just talk. So ask me what my favorite sandwich is. We can always come back to that staple of off-topic StarCast question asking.
Sure.
So
we did not ask our guest that.
No, we did not. I think I'm going to stop asking people that. I remember asking Day 9 that, and he was just like, what the fuck?
I'm sure he's been asked weirder. Like, will you marry me?
Yeah. I may have asked him that too, but that was off air.
Well, yeah. Well, that's respect.
Yeah. Day 9, like the awesome gentleman he is, yeah, he totally went for it. Captain Newbie in the chat room, letting us know. I really want to try getting him on again and sitting down for a proper chat with you and I both. He's such a busy man, though. Nonetheless, so I don't know.
But we do have exciting guests coming up.
Oh, we do. I think I'm gonna announce our lined up guests on the Christmas episode.
Oh, sweet, cool. We'll save it for then.
Yeah, but oh yeah. Yeah, great. Yeah, Octane Pro is like, I know it because I scheduled it, but I'm not going to say it. Yeah.
It's going to be an exciting new year.
Yeah, it should be. All right, well, it is late, and
Yes.
I'm going to go. I might be on Hot Slater. I'm not sure. I'll text you if I am.
Sure, we'll do. Looking forward to it. There's always tomorrow, which is Friday, which is awesome. Happy almost Friday, everyone.
Yeah,
And-
I don't work tomorrow, but I have to go get a blood test done, and I really hate needles.
Oh, gross. Chat room, thank you so much. You guys were awesome tonight. There were a lot of new faces I haven't seen in here, or name tags. I guess I can't see your face. But y'all were awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, come back. Tell your friends. See ya.